Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here with episode 265 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And I'm Dustin with Handsome Phantom and Colin's Last Stand.
Welcome, Dustin. Ladies and gentlemen, no Karak this week. He bailed, this son of a bitch. He's gone. We have no idea why, but he could not make it this week, so that's no problem. We will gladly cover for him again. We're going to collect our PlayStation paycheck once more and absolutely slam Xbox for an entire episode.
The whole episode.
The whole episode. Xbox, you're going down. We don't like you. For those who are wondering, by the way, because some of you just may listen and move on, the comments were very strongly suggesting that not only did we absolutely need Karak's guidance, but that we were very biased against Xbox. What's funny is Dustin and I wrapped up that episode and went, people are going to love this. That was a great episode. Usually the two-man episodes, they don't go that long. We had a full discussion. We thought we were very fair. Certain takes that we thought would be controversial were not even ones that were mentioned at all. So it's very interesting to see how the reception to last week's episode unfolded. It seemed like most of you enjoyed it, but there was a large chunk of you who thinks we hate Xbox.
Right.
And I will just direct you to an episode Karak and I did. It was myself, him talking about the PlayStation, what was it? The Spider-Man Puddlegate. So just know we give equal bullshit on both sides here on this show. We don't play favorites. We try not to, at least.
That's right.
As long as PlayStation's paying us,
That's the thing. I'm ready. I will switch to whichever console I think is best at the time. I did that. I was full 360 that generation.
Oh, yeah, same.
I've got stacks and stacks of 360 games downstairs, and I have two PS3 games. And then I switched over, and I'm ready. I will switch again, but right now with no launch games, no first-party launch games for Xbox, which that's I guess part of that pessimism that keeps getting mentioned. But hey,
yeah, dude, it's funny you say that. I was a 360 kid as well. I think a lot of people were, but towards the end of the generation, the margin was pretty much 50-50 because PlayStation started to really come back with a lot of strong exclusives, and so by the end of the generation, that was when I started to develop a trophy addiction. We talked about that a little bit last week. Mine really kicked up at the end of the PS3 and 360 generation, and so I was becoming a predominant PlayStation gamer, literally just because of a platinum trophy. It's just because Xbox didn't offer the crown jewel at the end of your journey. They just went, all right, 1,000 gamer score, good job, bro. This was just seeing the platinum trophy. It was all right, I gotta play on PlayStation, so I'd get games from the 360 on the PS3 again. So we love both consoles here, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, if you're new, welcome. We hope you're nice and comfortable enjoying your stay. This is the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We run this every single Friday for early access over on Patreon. If you're interested, it's just $1 a month or $12 a year. Pretty good offering there. You can get a variety of offerings on my Patreon. If you want to go ahead and sign up for $2, you'll get access to the supplemental patron-only podcast called Extra Slice of Ham, where we just talk about off-the-wall shit. This past week, what did we talk about? I think we covered food again. Food's been a really hot topic of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We'll get to that later in this introduction here because the meatloaf wars have ensued and continue to ensue. I've taken a loss personally in the meatloaf wars. Like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, we talk about random stuff in that podcast. It's a lot more laid back. Sometimes I review games that maybe I don't have time to do on the channel. So if you're interested in that, right now it's available for all patrons because I have this kind of inherent policy that as this pandemic progresses and things are up, down, people need as many distractions as possible. So right now, your level of donation is pretty much equal, which funny enough has brought in people of all levels for when that stops. But right now, as it stands, all videos are available to people as I release them. Same thing with the patron-only shows. That will eventually change, but for now, I just want to make sure everyone's included. So that's my Patreon. That's what's going on with this show. We cover hot topics every week and offer shitty takes. With that, Dustin, what have you been up to? What do you want to promote? Anything you want to put out there, my friend?
Oh, man. It's been on a personal level, it's been a busy couple days. I actually just went. Very exciting. I got it was used, but it's new to me. I got a new car just a few days ago, which is awesome, but also sucks just because having a car payment, not cool.
Yeah.
But I'm happy because the cars I've had for my whole life have been midlife cars, past 100,000 miles. Then they've always been a pain. So I'm happy to have something that's pretty new, It has like 12,000 miles. It's a 2019 Subaru Impreza.
We are on the same path, my friend. I have been looking for a new car myself. I have also been the subject of driving cars that could potentially explode at any point in time as well. So that's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm relieved because like the search for a car and buying a car sucks. Like I hate going to dealerships. I like, if you're a car salesman, there are good and there are bad ones, just like with anything else. But I just like, it's like that uneasiness of never knowing if you're going to get ripped off or something like that. So I got a good deal. Everything's good. So yeah, I'm glad to have that wrapped up. I just got to sell my old car now because I was like, I just didn't want to do a trade in and get no money for it. So, so that's good.
My car is so old that I'm gonna do a trade in because I'm like, this thing I will get like pennies for it.
Right.
Just someone take it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I can't imagine anyone wants my car. I really can't. Like even if it's like, 16-year-old permit first car. It's like, no, you don't want this car. It's not good.
Right. Yeah. It was funny because the last car that was my main car that I still have that I'm trying to sell is a 2009 Subaru. And when I bought it 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, wow, I have a car that's less than 10 years old. Because I think I bought it in like 2017. I was like, this is amazing. And it's been a huge pain. But anyway, so that's exciting. But as far as games and stuff, I actually just did 2. I did like a preview and impressions video that are on Handsome Phantom, youtube.com/Handsome Phantom. The impressions video was for Mortal Shell, which has been, seems like a pretty decent success for this company. The name of the company is slipping my mind. But anyway.
I actually don't know either, to be honest with you. I'll look it up.
Cold Symmetry, I believe is what the name of the company is.
Let me check for you.
But anyway, I did a impressions just because I wasn't going to be able to finish the game in time for embargo. So I just wanted to get something out there to like, let people know about, what I thought about it and things like that. And so, yeah, this is like a through and through Dark Souls game, which I know that's like the most tiring thing to hear, especially from people in the games media, to be like, it's like Dark Souls. And, they say that about literally everything. But this one is literally a lot like Dark Souls, like down to the loading menus are exact, like almost mirror images of Dark Souls. But that doesn't mean that it's a complete copy. There are a bunch of new elements to the formula. So the game is called Mortal Shell, and that's because you play as this like weird, ominous, like white figure, and you basically invade. I don't know if it's supposed to be like dead bodies, but you invade shells. And so it removes a lot of the RPG elements from a Dark Souls game. So like basically certain shells, like the first shell you have is pretty average health, average stamina, right? Okay. And then later you'll find a shell that has slightly lower health, but really high stamina. And then a third shell I found was like insanely high health, but really low stamina. So it's kind of interesting because you're not like committing to a type of build for a character. Instead, you're able to just kind of swap around based on your situation, which is neat. Okay. The thing that I don't like about this game that I think other people might not like either is that this game is really slow. So like your character, your attacks are slow. Like you are committing fully every time you hit that attack button. So there are different weapons you can find that will make it a little more fast paced. There's like a hammer and a blade that is, as far as I could find, was one of the quickest weapons in the game. But even then, it's still like very methodical. It's not the type of style that I like to play when I'm playing a game like this. Like Bloodborne is definitely my favorite of the Souls games. And so I always am playing like a lot of dodging, a lot of quickly attacking and then like dodging away. This game really doesn't let you play like that, which that's what, like, the whole point of my impressions, I lead off with saying, like, I don't really like this game, but that doesn't mean that you won't. It all just depends on what kind of player you are. So either way, it's a well-made game for sure. Like, I think the graphics are really beautiful, and it's like I said, the other new elements, like there's like a harden ability, which is basically like a block, but it will block, I'm pretty sure it blocks anything. And you can do that like as you're attacking. So like you'll start an attack and you'll see an attack coming in, and you can like harden, and then you won't take any damage, and then you'll attack. So it has a lot of new combat stuff that's pretty interesting. But yeah, my impressions video is up. I know that Karak also did a full review. So if you're really curious on more than a surface level, because I know his reviews are like really in depth.
Yeah.
So
he makes all use of that time he's got.
Right. Yeah. The other game that I'll talk about briefly is called BPM, which stands for bullets per minute, which I was a little surprised because the previews that I didn't see a lot of like media coverage for these previews going out, which when the game was announced, I felt like there was a pretty decent splash. So BPM is a first-person shooter game that is also a rhythm game. Think like Doom. Like a lot of the way that the combat, like the way you're moving around, felt like the new like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. But all the actions you do in the game have to be done to the beat. So like when you're firing, you'll be like click, click, click along to the soundtrack of the game. And even reloading, like the basic pistol is a 2-step reload, and you have to hit R on your keyboard, and you'll be like click, click. So it makes for a really interesting gameplay experience, because you're used to, when you're playing a game like Doom, just like flying around like crazy, spamming bullets or whatever. And you're still doing that, but there is like a little bit of technicality, just because if you're spamming the fire button, your gun's just not going to work.
Right.
So it's a really, when I explained this in the preview I did, it like broke my brain. For the first hour I played it, I was like absolutely terrible. I was like, wow, this game is so hard. But then eventually, like I like figured it out. It's a weird moment, because like it was like a very sudden, like, oh, my brain like understood how to play the game. So yeah, it's really neat. It's a roguelike game, which is really, as I said last week when talking about Rogue Legacy, it's really hit and miss for me. So certain times you'll start a run, and it will be like it has like a very what's the word I'm looking for, Norse mythology theme to it. So the first level is called Asgard. And so sometimes you'll start a run and it'll say frozen Asgard. And that means it's like you're running around on ice. And that's cool, but it's more just annoying than anything else. And I couldn't find like, there's no benefit to having a harder modifier on your runs. So I was like, oh, I guess I should just let my character die and restart. There's, as far as I could tell, there was no bonuses to that. But yeah, it's just an interesting mix of genres as far as like, you know, an FPS and a rhythm game. It's weird because I think there's another FPS rhythm game coming out called, it's called Metal Hellsinger. So we have two of these games coming out at a relatively close time together. I guess this Metal Hellsinger game is coming out in 2021, and BPM is coming out on PC in September. So
neat.
Yeah, it's just a neat idea.
Yeah, I watched your preview for the BPM game. That game looked fun. I don't know if I'd go out of my way and play it, but it looked like a pretty unique concept that I'm surprised I didn't see it anywhere at all. I felt like that's something you'd see like plastered on Twitter, like you got to check this out kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess when I remember the announcement video, like IGN, I think had some kind of thing to debut it. And the video on YouTube only has 159,000 views, which I guess is decent for a pretty small studio. But yeah,
but you got to think of like the branching, like that's 159,000 people who may or may not like it. And even those who like it may not go ahead and buy it. Like it's tough.
Right. So yeah, I guess I'm spreading the word because I felt like this game was fucking awesome. Like by the end, like my preview's done, but I was still playing the 2 levels that they gave us access to earlier today, just because I was like having so much fun with it. So check it out, BPM. Either you can check out my preview on Handsome Phantom, or just watch the trailer. It's a really neat game. So
nice. Yeah, I think Mortal Shell, because you were talking about that a little bit. I think that'll find an audience now because they're releasing it at a perfect time. Like everyone wants Elden Ring so badly.
Yeah.
And no one has any idea what's happening with the game. When it's re-revealed, it'll be a huge deal. But right now, people will take really any new Souls experience. And if this is even like moderately good, I think a lot of people are going to be all over it. So that's why they announced after they had released it or during their release that they're committing to like a physical launch in, I want to say, October. And I think October 2nd. So I'm not too surprised by that. I think that game's going to sell really well for its budget and its size, because it's coming out at literally perfect time. If there was any type of Elden Ring news, I think it would be one of those, I'll just wait. So
right.
Good news on both those games. For me, I just told my Patron Discord, I was like, hey guys, I might be off the radar for about the next week. I got a fuck ton of previews coming up. I got like 4, and they're all pretty significant games. The only one I can put out there and let people know I'm doing right now is Mafia Definitive Edition. So I put a tweet out for those who are listening. I still have time to create my video by the time this goes live to the public on Sunday. But on Wednesday, I'm going to be releasing like I usually do. I played Game X. This is my brutally honest opinion. And you're going to be seeing a lot of that over the next, I'd say, week or so, a couple of weeks, because it's just that season. So that's where a lot of my game time is going to go. But when I'm not playing that, I am playing Trails of Cold Steel. I just finished Chapter 3. I got a really well-written comment that was very informative on our last episode about Trails of Cold Steel. And so there's Trails of the Sky, I think it's called, which takes place before somewhere else in the Trails universe. And apparently like Cold Steel is like 6 through 9 technically, but it's its own series. So you can, like I am, just get right into it. They said that the first 2 are kind of like, the first 2 you can go into pretty blindly, but 3 and 4 are where you're going to start to see them do an Avengers kind of crossover, which I expect. I'm not one of those people who's going to go and like play Trails of the Sky personally, because those games are hard to track. And I remember seeing, I think I saw one on I think they were PSP games. And I saw one at like PAX for $50. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good, really. Or no, that was Valkyria Chronicles 2. Sorry. But anyway, point being is I've been playing that, just finished Chapter 3. It's starting to pick up. What I noticed with the game is that there's so many characters that it's better just to focus on that the party members you have. Everyone else, it just feels kind of like thrown in there. And maybe they get more important down the line, but as it stands now, I think the party members deserve the most focus. So it's kind of one of the flaws of the game. The combat's excellent. I really appreciate what it does. It's strange because like if you get like 1 action per turn, so you can like attack, use a spell, use a craft, or move. And it's really interesting because you can move and that uses up your turn, but you can like swap out party members and that doesn't burn a turn. So let's say someone's low and you're like, all right, I'm going to swap them out. Doing that doesn't cost you a turn. You can like use whatever abilities that person had ready for that fight. And so I found that extremely interesting as a system. And I wonder how in future entries, because I really am going in totally blind to this series, so I don't know what 2 ends up doing and 3 ends up adding, and 4 I'm definitely not paying attention to because I don't want to have shit spoiled for me. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how it continues to develop, because I really do like the combat system. Like I said, story's picking up. It's very, for those who are curious, it's a JRPG that's very much rooted in building tension between nations and kind of like the politics that all sides are playing to try to force a war to happen. And it's not in a very, like shut your brain off and pretend you didn't understand something kind of way. Like it's very well done, so to speak. And so I've been really enjoying that. I've been playing it on my Vita. It's been nice to play something handheld. If I wasn't playing this, I probably would have bought Spiritfarer on the Switch. They just revealed that it's out now during like the Nindy World Showcase, and that game, when it was revealed at the Xbox E3 thing, I was like, holy shit, this game looks amazing. It's kind of like a base builder, but it's very like tranquil, and apparently you can like go to different parts of the world and like gather people, and they all meet up at this one hub area. And I really liked how it looked. Something about it kind of spoke to me, and so I would be playing that right now, but with all the previews and stuff, I have to pick wisely, and I just need to stick with a game. And so I'm about 36 hours in the Trails of Cold Steel. My goal is to finish that before moving on to something else.
Nice. That Spiritfarer game is kind of interesting because that company Thunder Lotus did Sundered, which is like one of the first games for Handsome Phantom that I did like a video preview for. So
really?
Yeah, it's kind of weird now that we've been around long enough that we're seeing the follow-up games. I have a quick, while we're talking about what we've been playing, I have a quick question for you, Maddie.
Go for it.
Have you played Hunt Showdown?
No, I saw your clip though. I watched my friend Kev play it. The game actually looks really cool. Like the weapons in the universe. I just kind of wish it wasn't PvP. Like if there was a PvE thing, I'd probably be in on it more.
Yeah, it's that's what I forgot to mention. I don't want to talk about it super long because I'm such a baby. Like I've played 2 solo rounds, which the game is really not designed to be played by yourself. But I was just curious if you had played it because it seems really cool. But it's on sale right now, $20 on Steam. I've been looking at it for like the last month and a half, and then it finally went on sale, and I was like, now's the time.
That's it. Yep, that's your time to pull the trigger. Yeah, it looks great. It's just like I said, it's because of the weaponry. So, and the universe looks so cool that I keep thinking to myself, man, if they just did like a PvE thing or like a story thing or like a little adventure game, I would be all in because it looks so neat. But what is it like? It's not like a battle royale, right? Like
it is and it isn't. I mean, so it's like I'm trying to understand the way the main game works. It's like there are multiple teams of hunters throughout the map, and you're trying to kill. I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong. I know that there will be a comment that's fully explained how the game works. Is you're trying to kill the same creature, and you get like clues throughout the map, and so you may run into another team and have to fight each other, or you can be fighting the creature you're trying to hunt, and then you gotta like escape afterwards. So it's like a PvP and PvE situation, and it's sort of battle royale-esque because you're all on the same map. So it's really unique for sure. And it's not like other battle royales in that it's really, I mean, I guess PUBG is slow, but like your character moves really slow in this game.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But it's cool because so much of it is about sound. Like if you're walking, like you'll see like birds fly in the distance, and it's like, okay, so that's, if you see birds flying in the distance, that you know a character just walked through there. And then like there'll be like weird like dead horses that start like making weird sounds when you get close to them. So it's like you got to be really careful about how you're moving around the map if you don't, if you want to have the element of surprise. So
interesting. Sounds cool. It looks cool. Yeah, maybe $20. That's not too bad. I might actually look into that.
Hey, we can learn together because I have no idea what I'm doing. Somehow I won though my first solo match.
I saw that.
I got lucky. I had to have gotten lucky because it just doesn't make sense. But I guess I got 3 kills.
For you like that?
Yeah. But also, Maddie, since you're talking about JRPGs, I've been thinking that it's been a while since I think the last JRPG I played was Persona 5 Royal, which was such an experience. It's due. Yeah, it's been a few months. I was thinking, someone left a comment on some, like one of Colin's Facebook groups talking about Zero Escape. I was like, that's the type of game that I want to play right now. Something that is just like so intriguing that you just like can't put it down. But I don't know where to go for something like that. I feel like between Zero Escape, Danganronpa, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've played the really good ones, but I don't know.
So you have you played Zero Escape, or are you saying you're looking into Zero Escape?
No, I didn't. I think we briefly touched on this last week. I didn't finish the third one just because I thought it was not good. Yeah.
But you finished the second one?
Yeah. Honestly, I might just play that again It was so good.
That's the one that matters. All right, now what I'm going to suggest to you then, I haven't played it yet, but it's sitting on my shelf, and I'm probably going to wait till like my little holiday break to actually play it because I just want to like focus entirely on it without interruption. Is a game called the Somnium Files. It's by the guy who wrote Zero Escape. It reviewed really well. It plays a lot better. It's a lot more of like a investigative kind of game. And my friend played it. He really liked it. I watched him like through the PS4 share play thing and party, and it intrigued me enough to pull the trigger on it. I really am excited to play that one. It's like one of those games I'm so excited to play that I kind of find reasons to put it off. I'm weird like that. Like I'll put it off because I'm like I don't want to like ruin the curiosity of it all. So if you're looking for something like that, I would say start there for sure.
Yeah, what's funny is there's a demo for that I checked out, and I don't know if I started playing it at a bad time, the demo, and I was like, I don't really want to play this, but I'm still intrigued overall.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't say that's a game you demo because it's all about its story, and by the time it gets started, it's over, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you need, I think it's like a 30-hour game or something like that. It might be a little shorter than that. I might be wrong. But yeah, like it's one of those games that builds and builds and builds. So you just got to give yourself that time too, and I don't think a demo does a good service to that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The other thing is Meatloaf. We wanted to wrap up our introduction section with Meatloaf. So, the audience has really been sounding off in the comments, Patron comments, Discord. I received a message from someone saying...
A threat.
Saying, I don't know if I want to say this because I don't want Dustin to ban me or verbally abuse me. Because Meatloaf was made for the first time in forever 2 days ago. So there is some ongoing underground work in the Meatloaf community, seemingly. With that in mind, Carlton Parker wrote in on our Patreon saying, we don't really have Meatloaf over here in the UK. At least I don't. But when I had it once on a trip to America, I really liked it. Great with barbecue sauce at the smokehouse. Now, I thought this was kind of funny, right? Like, meatloaf is the last thing you order at a restaurant, in my opinion, right? Like, even if you're traveling the world, I don't think meatloaf's on my list, ever. I like meatloaf.
So, okay, I don't have the Discord chat up, but somebody asked me, they were like, well, Dustin, don't you like hamburgers? Hamburgers and meatloaf are like the same thing. And here's the thing, is that
disagree.
I just don't think you should be adding like anything to the meat of your hamburger. If you're adding breadcrumbs and all kinds of shit, you're doing it wrong. Like a burger should just be like ground beef, salt, pepper, and then you add flavor around it. You know what I mean? You get the barbecue sauce, you can put cheese, you can put lettuce, tomato, whatever you want to do, but keep the beef sacred. If you're making your hamburgers like meatloaf, excuse me, what is going on? I know people do that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that I fundamentally think that it's wrong. So,
yeah. Thomas Rice also wrote in and said, fuck meatloaf, hashtag free the meat. So with that very sentence in mind, I just wanted to let everyone know that I took a bit of a meatloaf loss in my house. My mom made it last week, and I've been consuming a lot of meatloaf as of lately. I talked about how I told Dustin a week or so ago that I was having meatloaf for dinner, and usually I return for leftovers. I did once, twice, and then the meatloaf has just sat there in the fridge now. No one in the house has touched it for a while. It is going to get thrown away, I believe, which is most unfortunate. Sadly, there's been a meatloaf loss across the landscape here, across the battlefield. So I'm going to need my meatloaf lovers to rise up this week and see if we can do something about this. I would really appreciate that, just because I'm really hurting here. And with that, let's move on into the news, Dustin.
Fair enough.
All right, so our first one is probably the most exciting one in our opinion. It's about Demon's Souls, which may be getting slated for a release this year or sometime in the PS5 launch window. Now, this information comes from VideoGameChronicle.com. The Blue Point developed Remake was rated in South Korea last week. As reported by Gamatsu, other first-party PlayStation titles have typically released between 2 and 3 months after being rated, which would put this sometime in November. PS5 title Spider-Man Miles Morales was also recently rated in South Korea and officially scheduled to release alongside the next-gen console at the end of the year. PlayStation has said that a Demon's Souls remake will invite players to experience the brutal challenge, completely rebuilt from the ground up and masterfully enhanced with a new fractured mode. I have not heard about that. We're going to have to look into that. The updated version of the 2009 PlayStation 3 title, which was the precursor to the Dark Souls games, will allow players to choose between two graphics modes, one focused on fidelity, the other focused on frame rate. This week's PlayStation marketing's boss called the PlayStation 5's upcoming games roster the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of PlayStation. Eric Lempel made the bold comments in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz in which he suggested there were still launch window games to be revealed. So far, PlayStation has confirmed Spider-Man Miles Morales and Astro's Playroom for the PS5's launch, as well as third-party titles such as Bugsnax and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Beyond that, it's revealed new installments of Gran Turismo, Ratchet & Clank, a remake of Demon's Souls, as we're talking about now, and a Horizon Zero Dawn sequel. The content that will be in the launch window and beyond is incredibly exciting, Lempel told GamesIndustry.biz. I would say that this is the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of PlayStation between our worldwide studios groups and our partners from all different publishers around the world. We've revealed some of that content, and naturally, there will be more to come, but the way that developers can engage with this platform and create these new experiences with known IP as well as unknown IP is incredibly exciting. Dustin, are we getting Demon's Souls?
Yes, 100%.
100%.
Well, real quick, one thought that I had was when that you said whatever PlayStation executive that was like, this is the best lineup we've ever had. Mm-hmm. All right. They have to say that every time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When I hear that phrase, I'm like, all right, I will believe it when I see the lineup.
Yeah, fuck off.
You know what I mean? Like, especially right now, I'm pessimistic about the launch lineup of games for both consoles, just specifically because of, the different world events and stuff going on and people not being able to work in the studio and working from home. So I think across the board, we're going to have pretty light launch lineup games. So
I agree.
He may be thinking of the long term. I don't know. Was that statement that you read, was that he referring to launch lineup or just currently like our library, upcoming library?
Let me revise it real quick. His words were right down here. The content that will be in the launch window and beyond is incredibly exciting. And he says, I would say this is the best lineup that we've seen in the history of PlayStation between our worldwide studios and our partners from all different publishers and the world. So, yeah, the and beyond is a very stretched part that people have just said, they've said the first part of a sentence. I've seen it in video headlines and stuff, titles on videos, that type of stuff that he's saying, this launch window, this is the best lineup we've ever seen in the history of PlayStation, but they're not mentioning the launch window and beyond. But right. I think given the rating in South Korea and that it just happened for Miles Morales, which we do know is coming, that you could probably say to safely expect a Demon's Souls remake. All I'm saying, man, is if they fucking put Miles Morales and Demon's Souls day one, I am going to fucking shit a brick. Like, that is gonna be fucking insane. I would be off the walls. That would be, in recent memory, like, I'm trying to think back on launch games. I can't think of, obviously, we'll see how good the games are, but on paper, I can't think of, like, a really impressive launch lineup quite like that, right? Like, I can't. I mean, I liked, of course, Breath of the Wild with the Switch. That was a really excellent launch title. It was the only launch title, but it was still really good. You could have like 1-2 Switch and all that shit, but who the fuck's playing that? There were some really good ones, but I don't know if anything comes to your mind, but like this would be like, okay, I'm going to put a pre-order in.
Oh,
because
yeah.
I'm about the software, right? So for me, that would be enough to get me in. I don't know about just Spider-Man as like a diehard Spider-Man, but those two combined, whew, oh my God.
It's interesting because I played Demon's Souls was the first Souls game that I had played, which makes sense. It is the first, line in the line of the From Software Souls-like games or whatever. That is the first one. And it did not click with me at all at the time.
The same, yeah.
I played the first few levels or whatever, the first few areas, and I was like, I hate this. And it wasn't until much later that it's like I understood, like I had adapted and realized what type of game it was, especially in that time. I mean, when I think I may have been in like 11th or 12th grade when that came out.
We were younger.
Yeah.
For sure, high school.
So it's exciting for me personally, because now that I'm like, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, I love those games. And I need to go back and play Dark Souls 1, because I know that a lot of people think that Dark Souls 1 is like the absolute best.
Really? See, that's going to be interesting to get your take, because that is very, like, I've gone back recently to get gameplay for like an Elden Ring video, and I thought to myself, man, this game's fucking slow now. Like,
yeah.
It's still fun from an RPG standpoint. I still love it. It's still one of my favorites, but it definitely has been, it's dated a little bit. So if you ever do play it, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think what's also exciting about this game is that I'm just curious to see how Blue Point modernizes Demon Souls. Like, here's a question. Will Blue Point put in a difficulty setting on this game, or some type of easy or easier mode?
That's a really good question, because it's not FromSoft, right? Like,
yeah.
This is
From Software would never do it. I'm convinced that they will never put any kind of difficulty mode. And obviously, regardless of the whole debate on whether or not you should or shouldn't, some people are demanding these types of modes, whereas other people are saying, leave it up to the creator's intent, which that's kind of where I align with. It's like, I'm all for accessibility, but I'm all for creative decisions as far as how you want to make your game.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting tightrope to walk, but I'm just curious. It's like, since they're going back and it's, it's not from making it, maybe they're going to say, hey, we can expand the potential commercial success by making this game more approachable.
Yeah, I know a lot of people aren't going to like us talking about this, but I just think like it's definitely worth visiting. I never even considered that. See, my first knee-jerk response is like, probably, because the way I look at it is the Souls genre is known to like crunch your nuts. Like, it's designed to beat the crap out of you. I don't know about you. Like, I know it's popular now. It's really popular. People love those types of games, but I don't know if that's like something someone's going to go out of their way to buy a system for, or would help them get on the system. I know Spider-Man definitely would. And so something like a difficulty slider or something that adjusts it would help. With that said, though, if you're doing that, you've got to change how like the AI behaves, how aggressive they are, damage input, output. Like, there's just so much that, and it's a remake, so they really would have, I'd say, that hands-on where they could do something like that. But I feel like that would change a lot. Like, what happens how does this area scale at this difficulty and at this difficulty and at this difficulty? And you do that for the whole game. That's a lot of QA. It's a lot of work. I could totally see it. I feel like it makes sense, because if it is a launch game, right? Because my second point is, if it's a launch window, no. If it's a launch game, though, I feel like they're probably thinking it's in their best interest to try to make it accessible. And I'll be honest, because I'm with you. I don't think FromSoft will ever do it. I would like to see what happens if one of these games had a difficulty slider. What would happen, right? Like, obviously more people will come in and play it. It would be great for accessibility, and I'm 100% for that. But I'd be curious to see how the game plays, right? And like how respective communities respond to that.
Right.
Because there is always, with any remake, right, there's a degree of, you want to keep, pardon the pun, the soul of the game, right? And the soul of Demon Souls was like, this is the start of something that was really difficult. So, I think I get both sides. I would personally say I'm going to expect a difficulty slider, and I'm not going to, I want to make it clear to people, like, I'm not going to lose my mind either way. Like, I think that it'd be great if they included it, but part of me also can expect them to do either thing. Like, if they didn't do it, I'd be like, okay, I know exactly why they are. If they did say, hey, we're going to add a difficulty slider, that would also make equal amounts of sense to me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this whole discussion or this debate is so weird to me because I feel like there's a lot of weird, like, entitled arguments on both sides. Like, people that are like, From Software or game companies need to include difficulty modes. And I'm like, no, they don't. They can do whatever they want. If you don't like it, don't buy it. Play something else. You know what I mean? And then on the other side, like, let's say if they do put in a difficulty slider, there will be people that'll be like, no, like, you know, they're ruining the integrity of the game. And I'm like, if there's an original, if you can play it as, if there's like a original mode or like classic mode that is, you know, it's remade, but it's faithful to the original, then there's that mode as well. Like, it doesn't hurt you, the fact that there's these other options as well. So I don't know. Maybe I'm playing too much devil's advocate with myself here, but I don't know. It's just such a weird, and it's weird how people are like really antagonistic about this whole discussion. And I don't know. It's always been a little weird to me.
Yeah, I personally, for me, I think it'd be great to see a company outside of From Software try it and see what happens. Because I think if the way I look at it is, I feel like FromSoft would have to sign off on it because they would have to know, hey, if let's say Demon's Souls comes out, the remake, and they do have the difficulty modes, I think you're right on the money. Like, because they said fractured mode, which I looked it up. That's, by the way, that's their term for like choosing between the frame rate or the graphical fidelity. Which, okay, whatever.
Right.
I don't know why they give it that, but you know, when you said original mode, I think you could be onto something. And I just think I would like to see what they do with that, because if say they do it, then FromSoft has to know that it, like, they're going to be expected to do it, and clearly they don't want to, right? Like they absolutely don't want to. I don't even think they put out a public statement when everything was blowing up about the accessibility option, or the lack thereof, of accessibility options in Sekiro, like people who wanted to play it. And that's why, like, I'm for the idea of adding these types of accessibility options, because I'm sure it's like really frustrating that you would be like physically incapable of playing a game. And when you look at something like The Last of Us Part 2, which had a ton of accessibility options, like, that's great to see, right? Because, you know, anyone could probably experience that game, and you see Microsoft moving it forward with like their adaptive controller and stuff. So part of me feels like it's almost like you're dying on a sword to not do it, but I also understand the, I put this in quotes, integrity of the creative vision, end quote. Like, you want to make what you want to make. You want it to be one designed experience. So I get both sides, but if any time we're going to see it happen with the difficulty slider, I think now's the time. I don't think suddenly Elden Ring's going to come out and they're like, hey, this is our most ambitious game and we've added a difficulty slider. I don't see that happening personally. Maybe I'm wrong, but and I wouldn't mind being wrong, but personally, I'll be curious to see how this is handled, because you bring up a really good question there. It is very well possible, if it's a launch game, that it has that.
Now, Maddie, while we're on the subject, I have to ask, do you think, you just did a video about this, I meant to watch it, I didn't get to watch it yet. Do you think we're going to see Elden Ring at Gamescom? Or, no. I guess Tokyo Game Show, they're doing an online thing, right? Or is that...
They are.
Is that coming up pretty soon?
That's the thing, that I haven't seen that popping up a lot at all, so I often forget about it, but I know for a fact it's not happening at Gamescom. A lot of insiders have been like, it's not there.
So what's going on with this game?
I think, what my guess, and this is purely a guess from what I've heard, what I've read, all that stuff, is that this game was being made, and then next gen consoles started to come out, started to circulate, and they probably realized that their vision was a lot more realistic on that hardware. And I think what happened was this game went from pretty much like a cross-gen game to next-gen only. Because from what was said by From Software on its ambition, it's much more open. Like, it's pretty much going to be open world. It's going to be horseback riding, all that shit. Like, that in its own right, when you think of the scale already of a FromSoft game, and now you have to account for that type of mobility. If you have a horse, think of games with horses, right? Like Red Dead, Ghost of Tsushima. These are big worlds. We've never seen FromSoft take on something like an open world, so I think that would be a really, really, really good idea for them, because that's like the next logical step. They've done like semi-open with Dark Souls 1 and 2, where it's kind of like Metroidvania-esque connected. You've seen action-adventure in the name of Sekiro. Like, I think open world makes sense. So what happened more than likely is that their vision got so broad. I think they just moved on to stronger hardware where this game could maybe run better or look better, something along those lines. That's just my guess.
I remember at the last E3, so a year ago.
Feels like forever ago.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever been to done an appointment at the Bandai Namco booth?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I did it for Jump Force. Oh man, was that
a
treat.
Dude, yeah. What's funny is, and I think this is fine to share. They invite you to this behind closed doors thing. And the first time I did, I was like, this is exciting. If it's behind closed doors, there's a presentation that's half hour. Maybe they're going to show us some awesome stuff. And I remember last year I had already done one, so I knew I was not optimistic, but I was like, maybe they'll show press Elden Ring, which they didn't. Mm-hmm. But it's just they sit you down in the Stark room and show you all the trailers that they already released that you saw in a thing.
So funny you mentioned that. Yeah.
Did you have to do that?
I did. It's not I had to do that. I thought that it was going to be something exclusive because it was an invitation to a showcase kind of thing, and I thought it was going to be press only thing. And I remember my friend looking at me like, "Dude, we already saw this shit." I'm just like, "Yeah,
yeah," and it takes half hour. Yeah,
yeah, right. And you just, I saw people getting up and walking out, and I was like, "All right, I'm not that fucking pressed for time here."
Though, to Bandai Namco's credit, last year I love their setup that. So you have to, they do the presentation, which obviously I'm being critical of, but then they just are like, okay, go in this open area and you can play whatever you want. You can hook up your capture and we're not going to hold your hand or hover over you the entire time. I can't stand hovering, but so I love that setup. That's awesome. But anyway, we're totally off topic now. Let's,
yeah, but to your point, they are hands off. I remember I walked up, I showed them my badge, I said I have an appointment. They literally just opened the gate and said, "All right, pick a station, play whatever you want, enjoy," and that was it. Just in out. Played, I think Jump Force, played Code Vein, and played My Hero Wants Justice.
Was this 2 years ago or last year?
2 years ago,
dude. That Code Vein demo was bad. 2 years ago.
Yeah, that game. I'm surprised that game even came out because that was on and off development. It seemed like. It was just
people really like that though. For the most part, I mean,
I want to play it.
It was kind of middling. If I recall, the reviews were kind of middling, but the people that played it, I saw really liked it. So
yeah, I think it's got a charm to it. It kind of reminds me. Namco also published this game. It was God Eater, and combat kind of looked like that, except it was more Souls-like experience. It looks like a solid game. My friends really liked it. I think 3 of them played it, and they all each enjoyed it. It wasn't raving. Mm-hmm. But they liked it, so it's one I'd like to hopefully get around to. Back to Demon's Souls though, with its rating and the mentioning of 2 to 3 months in a gap between the rating and release, do you think this means we're seeing PS5 at November?
I think that sounds likely. I'm not super familiar with how the Korean rating board. Because I know that they're a consistent source of leaks and people are monitoring them. So the question I guess I have is that there are any games that have been rated and then they don't come out 3 months later.
It's hard to think because I think of Mafia. That's a game I covered earlier this year, and there was rating boards, and then I think a week later it was announced. And, within, let's see here, technically, because this was in May, I want to say. And so technically, yeah, you know what? Mafia Definitive Edition was supposed to come out in August. It got delayed until September, but it was supposed to come out in August, and this leak happened around May, I want to say May or June. And so that's about your 2 to 3 month gap right there. So that's one instance I can think of that supports it. That goes against it, I'm sure. There are some. There was a leak for Prince of Persia. I want to say. I don't know if that was a ratings board leak. I don't think it was that, but there were some leaks recently that I don't think they were ratings boards, actually, now that I think about it a little bit more. But I can't personally. I'm sure the audience can help out. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that says oh yeah, there was a ratings board leak and the game didn't show up.
Right.
Trademarking is different. Maybe people could think of times a game or a series name or some type of collection was trademarked. That usually is further out because it's protective property work. When it comes to ratings, there's no missing on that.
Yeah, so, I feel like it makes sense. I think it would be a great launch title, and between you have that and Spider-Man, you don't want to blow everything you have ready at launch, directly at the launch. I feel like I have a good feeling that Ratchet and Clank. I'm guessing it's not going to be a launch game, but if I had to guess, that game is pretty far along because we've known that a Ratchet and Clank game has been in development for a while now, so you have to imagine it's far along. But I feel like that might be a better one to wait until after launch, just kind of like to save so you can dole things out. And that's the other thing. The curious thing too is that if other games are potentially going to be delayed, like I feel like it seems like Horizon will be later in 2021 eventually, because I think they said the plan right now is to do early 2021, right?
Really? See, that's where I thought Ratchet would fall. I thought Ratchet would fall in you'd probably see it by March. I feel like that would be their early 2021 exclusive.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, is that to put Ratchet in early 2021 and then have I don't know, maybe it'd be a good summer Ghost of Tsushima type game for Horizon. But that's the thing, is that it's so weird now because games sell at any time of the year. Obviously, you want to put your pieces in the right spots for a launch of a console, but it's like,
dude, this used to be the dead time of year, and the last 2 years, it's been, well, actually last year, channel wise for me, games to play wise, no, but channel wise, it was dead. But this year especially, this summer's been busy, and we've seen, I think I said this sometime in the later part of last year, I was like, you're going to start to see, because you're starting to see games stack up in the beginning of the year and the end of the year, I said you're going to start to see them just kind of all brush out, and it's just going to be releases all year long. So, be smart with your money, ladies and gentlemen, of course, is what I'm getting at with that. But PS5 looking sharp here. If we're going to get Demon's Souls Remake alongside Spider-Man, you got me on board. Plus, Bug Snacks looks actually solid. I was sold on the last state of play for that game, so I'm interested in those three. If all of them come out in the launch window, that makes my purchase a lot easier.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's one of those that people talk about if you should pick up a console at launch, whether it's a good investment or not. I'm going to say it's probably not almost ever technically, but it's
yeah,
I don't know. If you want it and if you can afford it and you're not, harming your own livelihood or the people that you support, then go for it.
There you go. I agree.
I'll be picking it up.
Yeah, I think I will be too. All right, next game that got revealed this week is Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, for those who don't know, little red alert here, Black Ops 1 is my favorite. So this was sound the fucking alarms. I'm actually really excited for a Call of Duty game. So there have been a number of leaks about this game. The title shouldn't come as a surprise to many who have at least kind of peered into the news. We got an article here from GameSpot. It's kind of in everything we know so far, so I'm just going to peer through it a little bit and touch on some of the major happenings within this game. So number one, it was kind of teased in Warzone, which is the big battle royale Call of Duty game. In one of the enormous map's buildings, you'll find an RCXD vehicle, which is featured in obviously the series multiplayer mode. The bunkers in the map also became available to open recently, and they contain materials and devices, including a nuclear warhead that fits into the Cold War settings. Players also made use of these codes available on the teaser site to find clues in the Warzone map. Activision has been vague about how it will announce Black Ops Cold War, but it hinted that it could happen within Warzone itself. Obviously, now we know it's a trailer, so part of this article is dated, but still, there were teases already within Warzone. We do know that the next Call of Duty is from Treyarch and Raven Software. That was confirmed via Twitter. It's still apparently coming this year, despite the ongoing pandemic. delaying several games, as we are aware of. We're going to be covering one today. Call of Duty 2020 has not been impacted. Speaking to investors, this was back in May, really in the heat of things. Activision Blizzard president and COO Daniel Allegre said that the game is still on track to release this year, and employees have adjusted to a work-from-home structure. We got a teaser art as well, which I highly, highly, highly recommend people check out. It's actually fucking sick. I really like it a lot. It shows, let's see here, how do they describe it? The artwork shows gruff-looking soldiers on both sides of the conflict, American and Soviet, overlaid with various pieces of printed propaganda. If this is the box art, by the way, it's fresh. This is similar in tone to the teaser video released earlier this week, which featured real-life KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov talking about active measures used to destabilize government. It looks like the full reveal is coming August 26th, 2020. We don't have much else outside of that. So, Dustin, what do you make of a new Call of Duty game this year? Are you excited at all for this?
I think we got to look at the facts so far around this game, because based on those facts, I feel like there's a little bit of a reason to be concerned. Not that we can say like this game's going to be bad, but there has been an interesting development around this game. So if you remember, Call of Duty used to be, they had switched over from a 2-team cycle with Treyarch and Infinity Ward. They switched over to the 3-team, with Sledgehammer being the 3rd team. Sledgehammer made Advanced Warfare. Yeah. Advanced Warfare and World War II, which World War II seemed to be, both of those are kind of more on the mixed side of Call of Duty releases, as far as I could tell. So something happened with Sledgehammer that this was supposed to be their year, and it didn't pan out. I'm trying to remember what the news was. Apparently, I don't know if it was canceled. Maybe. Do you remember something like that, Maddie, at all? Like, I know that they were working on a game that is no longer happening.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure what happened was this Call of Duty was supposed to be, was it Sledgehammer and Raven?
Okay.
And I think Sledgehammer got flicked off the project because they weren't getting the job done. Treyarch stepped in and has handled it since. I'll double check that info. But, go on.
So Treyarch, was asked to come in, and they had just, not just done, but they recently did Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which was already I don't want to say a lesser experience, but you didn't get a campaign out of that. Of course, they added in their Battle Royale mode, which I've already forgotten the name of. It's not Warzone, it's Blackout, maybe? Yeah, Blackout.
Sorry, I was reading.
So the fact that they were brought onto this project a lot later, and it is going to be a launch game. Assumingly, it's going to be a launch game for next gen, which, if we think about the last time the launch Call of Duty game for a gen was Call of Duty Ghosts, which didn't really work out so well either.
I fucking hate that game.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of things that are kind of interesting about this game. I think the biggest concern is the fact that Treyarch was brought on much later than what they had gotten used to with the 3-year development cycle of a Call of Duty game. Does that all? Was that cohesive enough?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sorry. The reason I wasn't reassuring you.
Oh no, you're good.
And like I usually do during when you're.
I need reassurance, Maddie.
I do it to you and Karak. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
I feel like when people do that to me, I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm rolling now.
Right.
But anyway, I'm reading this article from GameZone.com just to reaffirm what was said. They say, after Call of Duty World War II, Sledgehammer went to work on Call of Duty 2020 with Raven Software. Raven had been assisting on Call of Duty games for years in a support role by doing a variety of things like making maps and making sure the team in charge are able to ship a competent game on time. Raven had been promoted to a leadership role alongside Sledgehammer, creating a dual partnership for Call of Duty 2020, which was set to be during the Cold War and/or Vietnam. After a messy development that involved butting heads between Sledgehammer and Raven, Activision pulled the 2 off of lead roles for 2020 and have moved up Treyarch's Call of Duty a year ahead of schedule. The 2020 Call of Duty will now be Black Ops game, but Sledgehammer/Raven's work will be transformed into a Cold War single-player campaign for, at the time of this article, the yet untitled Black Ops game. Fans will be delayed to hear that there's still a focus for single-player Call of Duty stories, giving Black Ops 4's seemed to indicate a shift towards multiplayer going forward. Of course, this will put pressure on Treyarch, even though they don't need to deliver a campaign themselves. What I think is most unfortunate about this is when I look at the games that Sledgehammer's made. And everyone's got their own, I always say this, everyone's got their own taste of COD. Every Call of Duty has like the subtle changes that really fit them best. For me, it's always been Treyarch. But Raven Software is like one of the probably the most talented branches of studios, talented studios underneath that umbrella, rather. And they're like in a support role. Like, I don't know if people realize this, but they made a game called Singularity back in 2010 or 11. And that game is like awesome. It's a fucking good game. It is a really good single player first person shooter that has like a couple of choices in the middle of the story that have like diverging paths. Like, it's a legitimately really good game. And I'm like, they're making this good thing and you're putting them in a fucking support role. I guess like support sounds more demeaning because the way it was described in the article was, making maps and stuff that is integral to the quality of a Call of Duty game. But I mean, my God, man, that's what bothers me more than anything is they were finally in like a leadership role and they butt heads and they get back down to support role now, which terminology is strange. I don't know if working on a campaign is necessarily like your support,
right?
Doing a huge chunk of the game. But Treyarch handling the multiplayer, man, to me, music to my ears. I fucking love the sounds of that. Their Call of Duty controls so well to me. For those who don't know, I always thought that Infinity Ward had a very weighty feeling to their CODs, especially Modern Warfare. I know this game was like the change people were looking for. I was like, God, bring me back. I was like, it does not feel good to play. It feels good in Warzone, because it's a little more deliberate, but in the quick, like bang, bang action and the maps in Modern Warfare, don't get me started. Point being is I'm not a fan of Infinity Ward CODs. Sledgehammer, they sit in the middle for me. Like World War II was solid to an extent. I just kind of like the weaponry from World War II more than anything. So Treyarch, they got this in the bag. I have confidence. I'll be the one who's foolish here.
Yeah, so I'm glad you read that because it makes it not seem quite as bad. The fact that they're not restarting from what it sounds like. It sounds like they're coming in and they're just kind of taking over. Now, something that Colin said on Sacred Symbols, which I thought was really interesting that he pointed out was, at the end of this trailer for Black Ops Cold War, Raven's logo actually appears at the end, which, even though that they've worked on previous Call of Duty games in a support role studio, I don't think that they were given like kind of upfront credit like that, if I recall correctly. So
definitely not in like the box art. I'm pretty sure it was always like the main studio.
Right. So Colin brought up the idea that maybe Raven is being groomed to be the third Call of Duty studio after this, since they're kind of, if the project was Sledgehammer and Raven, Sledgehammer got booted off. So clearly the executives at Activision saw their side more than Sledgehammer's, if that makes sense. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this game turns out, since just any game, not that if a game has a troubled development it's always bad, but it is an indicator that it may be bad, I guess.
Cause for concern. Yeah.
It's cause for concern. So I'll be curious. I think you're right though, Matty, that I personally do prefer the Treyarch Call of Duty games, even though I did really like this most recent Modern Warfare game. Mm-hmm. But like Black Ops 2 and 3 are like my absolute favorite. Probably Black Ops 2. That's the one I put the most amount of time into.
That's a great
back
game.
On
year of high school. Holy
dude,
shit.
Xbox Live. I was playing that like every day. So
isn't it crazy? Like if we were both grinding the game, we'd probably cross paths at a multiplayer level.
You have to think. You'd have to imagine, dude, for sure. So
especially because we're on like the same region. Like we probably had to have. That's wild.
Had to have. Yeah. So I'm excited. I wasn't as much of a fan of Black Ops 4 because they kind of did like, I don't want to say hero shooter approach, but they had like the different was it operators?
I
right?
see. I like that. I'm not
really
gonna lie.
okay.
I actually did like that. Yeah. I mean, granted, I played like 150 hours of Black Ops 4, and like a lot of that was just competitive play, like game battles matches, and I liked kind of that watch out for this operator sort of thing, or whatever they're called. I thought it played a kind of good factor into the game where it wasn't just the gunfights. Like someone could have ability ready. You could see that on their scoreboard. That's just me though. I understand like there's a whole different skew when it comes to pubs, which I really don't play. But yeah, man, like I really liked that approach. I doubt they're going to, because like the thing is that played off the futuristic elements. So like, I don't think you can do that in a Cold War game. Like I don't, unless they do like alternate history kind of futuristic Cold War, but I like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. In some ways, I feel like some people just give Call of Duty a bad rep. They're just like, oh, it's the same thing every year, and it's so weird because a part of me agrees with that in a way, but yet I'm always intrigued. I don't play them every year. Like I didn't play World War II. I didn't play, what was the future one? It's not Advanced Warfare. It's Infinite Warfare. I didn't play that one either.
Karak likes that game, and man, I do not agree with Karak. I wish he were here so I could just drag him for that.
That's the one that has Jon Snow or Kit Harington, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
and then Kevin Spacey in Advanced Warfare too. That was kind of a weird era where they were putting movie stars in the game, but
yeah, they're like, this will sell.
Sell. There's like an awesome moment in Advanced Warfare where Kevin Spacey's like, what you're seeing is Advanced Warfare. And everyone's like, oh, we get it. He said the name of the game. But
yeah.
So
we'll see next week.
We'll see. Yeah.
We'll certainly be talking about it on this podcast. Next up is a game completely on the opposite end of the spectrum. In fact, it could not be more farther away from Call of Duty than this very moment. We're talking about Baldur's Gate 3. I have way too many fucking tabs open on my phone, so I keep like misclicking when I'm trying to bring up our articles. This information comes from GameInformer.com. Like I said, early access details have been revealed for this game. It was originally supposed to come out, I put in quotes, come out actually in this month, August, but they moved it back. They did a early access detail stream. Really, gotta be honest, I love Larian Studios with all my heart, but they are handling the fucking launch of this game so weirdly. Anyway, Larian Studios dropped some info about early access for Baldur's Gate 3, which is being called its, quote, most ambitious RPG yet, end quote. From system requirements to the amount of content, players got a heads up on what to expect. Larian says it anticipates Baldur's Gate 3 will be in early access for at least 1 year, and says not to purchase the game just yet if you want a polished experience. As written on the Steam page, the studio notes, quote, while we did our best to remove the most annoying bugs and optimize the game as much as we could, there are still plenty of issues, and it will take us time to fix them. Only buy the game now if you want an early look or if you want to participate in community feedback. Otherwise, you're probably best off waiting until version 1.0 releases. Now, they do have some system requirements here. The recommended is a i7 4770K processor, or a Ryzen 5 1500X. By the way, Dustin, if you cringe at all as I pronounce these bits of hardware, just stop me and take over. 16 gigs of RAM, NVIDIA GTX 1080, or a AMD RX 580. They're saying that this is going to be a 70 gigabyte game. As for the amount of content, Act 1 is the primary amount of content for early access, which features 25 hours of self-contained content and will support 6-player classes with the amount of sub-races and races to be determined. So they may add more, or I don't know, maybe even remove some. It will have 5 origin characters, which some of you who have watched my coverage of like Divinity Original Sin will be familiar with, which you can recruit but not play for now. So that will be something at launch. Larian said to expect new features to be added during early access in the ramp-up to release, including new classes and races. Larian reiterated most of Baldur Gate 3's advertised features are included, though some are a work in progress. Currently, not every language is supported, which I saw Larian come out and confront this. They said they're going to look into this a little bit more because a lot of people were upset about it due to the writers still developing the game. Acts 2 and 3 are very much a work in progress, so they will not be released until the official launch of 1.0. Larian says it sees value in getting feedback and exploring games ideas with a live community, so early access seemed like a good fit. Early access opens on September 30th. Mouthful right there. Now, are you into these types of games, Dustin, at all?
I want to be. So
okay.
I actually bought Divinity Original Sin 2. I have not played it. I bought it when it was like quickly on sale, and I was like, I know this game's great. It's weird because it's like, I want to play it, but I know the level of commitment that it's going to take. Mm. And so it's like, it's one of those things where I just got to do it. It's never going to be the right time to start this game.
Yes,
so I just need to do it.
I've played it through twice. I fucking love this game. It is so good to me. Like, it is my favorite RPG in a really long while. It just, the reactivity of the world. It's why I'm also extremely excited for games like Wasteland 3. Like, I love these types of like chaotic combat isometric games with lots of agency over how the story plays out. The amount of world reactivity in Divinity 2 is so like astounding. And by that, I mean, like, it's not like you do a thing and so people are like, oh my God, you evil person or whatever. It's more like different dialogue that's entirely voiced if you approach someone as an elf versus a dwarf, and like the relationship there where I could, like, if I'm playing a co-op session, I could walk up to someone as an elf, talk to them, they're like, piss off, and then you come to them as a dwarf and they actually engage with you and you get the information you're looking for. Like, the amount of ways to solve quests, it's fascinating. So like Baldur's Gate 3, I'm really stoked for. The only thing that's holding me back for early access, and I may sound like a little ridiculous here, I don't know, because I'm not super familiar with the early access conversation because I try to avoid it, but like, I would want the full game, right? And by full game, I don't mean like, I don't mean necessarily like you need every feature there. It's got to be polished. When I say full game, I mean the full story. For me, like going 25 hours deep into Act 1 and they're only doing Act 1, like I would want to see, what about Act 2? Don't you want to polish Act 2 and get like a lot of testing for that? Or are they just saying Act 1's the sample size and we'll figure out the rest ourselves? Like, that's the type of thing I'm a little, I won't say concerned about, but I'm curious how they plan to handle that. Of course, they did mention they're going to add content down the line, but that sounds like, you know, for example, being able to play as the origin characters. For those who don't know, in Divinity Original Sin, I think 1 and 2, you can pick origin characters, so the story is told to you differently. Like, if you're playing as Fane, say, in Divinity Original Sin 2, you're playing through his lens of the story, and like, he has his own personal objectives, so the amount of like replayability is just fucking gross in that game. Like, you'll beat it and be like, I didn't do anything. But it's really like, what's great about it is I played it and beat it, or mostly beat it, in 2017, and I came back to it like 2 years later and played it again. It was like a whole new experience. Like, it's awesome. Like, you still are in those same zones, but like the quests and the way they end up, it's so wild. So if you ever have a time where you're like, this is my moment, I say you go for it, young Dustin.
Yeah,
go for it.
Dude, I really, you know, now since we're even talking about it right now, I'm like, maybe it is the time.
It's a good co-op game, I will say. If you play it by yourself, it's going to be tough.
Okay, that's actually something I was going to ask you about, because I hear so much about people playing it, you know, co-op, and it's supposed to be really good with a friend.
Yeah.
So
I've played a little bit of it by myself, and I don't think it's bad at all. Like, it's still a really good game, but I'm like a geek in that way. I like doing like, all right, something simple like this. In the beginning of the game, you're on Fort Joy, and you need to get up into the castle for a quest. So you can do it like a number of ways. And like, I just like seeing all the ways you can do that. So for me, as someone who plays RPGs all the time, like, that will be fun by myself. But I know for these types of isometric games, very, I want to say methodical, because you're always mentally engaged, like going to do something, but it still is a slow game. And like the prologue section is like 10 hours. So it is slow in that sense, but it's kind of a worthwhile slow to set up the rest of the world. But it's a lot easier to tolerate with friends. It's what I said about Wasteland 3, even though I haven't played it yet. It's what I say about Divinity 1, Divinity 2. Like, they're great games that certain people can enjoy on their own, but I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. And it's a lot easier to learn the game, learn to love the game too, if you're doing it with a friend.
Yeah, I just had an idea because I guess I didn't mention this, but I've started Divinity before, and then either got away from it, never for very long. But I think I tried playing it with my wife Holly because she's really like I don't know if she's played a game like this, but she's definitely likes RPGs and like story heavy stuff. And I think we were playing like split screen, and it wasn't a very good experience.
Interesting, yeah.
So you just made me think about the fact that before I did that, I didn't have a gaming laptop in addition to my PC. So if we played and we each had our own copy of the game, that'd be a lot pretty better. Optimal.
That'd be a lot better. That, or I don't know. What you could do is, and this would involve a lot of double dipping, is like, if you really wanted to, sometimes it's like the setting you're playing in, for at least for me. They do have it on Switch, and it's cross save, where you could just go back and forth if you really wanted to. That could be good on your own. But yeah, if the thing is that with co-op in that game, I don't know. It's interesting that they have it in split screen. I thought it would be still on one screen, and you just couldn't wander past the borders of that.
I think it's like a hybrid. Like, you'll be on if both characters are on the same screen, it's not going to be split. But as soon as you diverge, I want to say it goes split. I might not be remembering that right.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. I like split screen, but I don't like playing on split screen because like my eyes are trained to look at the whole thing. Like if I was looking at half of you over on the left side of my monitor right now, I'd just be like, this is hard. I can't do it. Growing up, I understood the value of split screen. I still do, but I just never liked playing it. So yeah, if you could do that for yourself and get like 2 separate screens, that would be really good. Especially that game goes on sale every time a Steam sale rolls around, and I'm sure we'll get our like a fall one before you know it. And so I would say maybe wait for then.
Right.
And the fall's really busy, Dustin. So
yeah, it's definitely gonna be busy. Yeah. So as far as Baldur's Gate 3, I'm totally with you in that. I understand sort of early access. Like I understand that people want to get to play the game as soon as possible, but based on Divinity Original Sin 2, it's clear that this is going to be most likely one of the best RPGs ever made because, it's like they made Divinity Original Sin 2 because they were inspired by games like Baldur's Gate. And now it's like, now
you've got Baldur's Gate.
Now you've got Baldur's Gate, and they're going to be putting, 110% into making this game amazing. And so part of me is like, if you truly are really excited about this game, from my perspective, I would wait because I would want to have like you said, to be able to play all the acts at once and to be able to play the best version of the game when it comes out. I mean, now my argument is flawed because technically you could say that about almost any game to say like, well, if you wait a couple months after launch, then it's going to have all the bugs worked out. But I don't know.
I would say, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I probably would wait. I'm probably going to wait unless they contact me and they're like, hey, we got a code. I don't want to say that in a privileged way, but if that does happen, which it could, like, then I'll try it. But if they don't, I'm probably just going to wait till Act 2 is, like, in there content-wise, because then I'm not going to act like I'm going to breeze through the whole thing. Like, I know how I play games now where, I take my time, and especially in those types of games, like, you got to play them in bursts, because if you don't play that game, like Divinity, like I'll play it for 3 hours and think sometimes, like, man, did I really do anything? I did like 2 quests. I like managed my inventory. Like it sounds slow. It's such a hard sell. It's amazing how popular they are with like these types of games. But yeah, I think I'm going to wait for like an Act 2 if I'm putting my own money on the line. That's because at a certain point, I go, okay, I have no willpower. I need this game.
Right.
I need to play the next Larian game. That's kind of where I stand on it. But Act 2 is probably huge because, like, Act 1 in Divinity Original Sin 2 is, like, Fort Joy pretty much. And then Act 2, I want to say, is like Crestwood, which is like the most significant part of the game content-wise. Like, you're there for the majority of your adventure. It's very expansive. And then Act 3, you're kind of in a couple of other places. It goes further than that. There's chapters and more shit happens. But point being is that this game will be huge. I am looking forward to seeing more.
Also, to be clear, if they were like, hey, Bloodborne 2 is only going to be in early access and you can only play the first 5 hours or 10 hours of the game, I would have no willpower. Like, I wouldn't be able to follow my own advice. So if Baldur's Gate and Divinity is your shit and you're like, you just want to play it, do what makes you happy, for sure. Because I would definitely be buying Bloodborne 2 early access. Though It sucks because I would buy it and play it knowing like this isn't the ideal experience to play the follow-up to one of my favorite games of all time. But I would have no willpower, just like you were saying. It's just like if you want to do it, go for it.
Like with Larian games, I feel like always waiting like a year after launch is technically like the best idea, because they've done a definitive edition for Divinity 1 and 2 where they do the console launch of the game, and in that they have like all the voice lines, they have like all the patches, any DLC, like they give you fucking everything. And I will say in Divinity 2, like the biggest impact was that they had fully voiced everyone and everything. Like even the narrator, for everything you do, you hear this voice just talking over what you do, and combine that with like the absolutely exquisite writing, and it's just like a dream come true. But that's why technically it's better to wait, especially for their games. But it's also kind of interesting. I've been on the end of watching their thing build, and I've enjoyed that. Like playing Divinity in 2017, I think is when it came out, Divinity 2, and then playing it again in 2019 on PS4 with the definitive edition. My launch years might be off there, but that was like really cool just to see some of the differences there and how it controls how it plays. It plays really great on console, by the way. I don't know if that's ever an option for you. You're interested in that, but like that's how I usually do play it.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know there's that PS4 version. Does that have Steam cross save as well?
I don't want to say I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I did not take note of that, but that would be cool if it did. It'd be cool if they just supported cross-save in general, but it might just be a Switch thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Last bit of news is on Deathloop, which was supposed to be actually like a launch window / launch game for PS5, because as those of you who have been paying attention know, this is a game that was a timed exclusive for PlayStation, has been delayed. So Deathloop's Twitter posted a update saying, we've made the decision to move the launch date of Deathloop to Q2 2021. Now, this game was coming out. It's coming out in the holiday season, and they're pushing it back to Q2. Something's going on. They say our ambition for Deathloop is to deliver a signature arcane game that takes you to never-before-seen places in a stylish new world. At the same time, the health and safety of everyone at Arcane Lyon remains our top priority. As we've adjusted to a work-from-home space, we found that delivering this new and exciting experience at the polish and quality level that defines both an Arcane game and a true next-gen experience is taking longer than normal. This extra time will allow our team to bring Deathloop's world to life with as much character and fun as you've come to expect from our team. While we know this is the right decision for Deathloop, we share your disappointment and apologize for making you wait even longer. Thank you for your support and excitement. Your positive feedback has helped fuel us as we continue to work from the confines of our homes. We can't wait to share more details about Deathloop with you, so keep your eyes open for our next update coming soon from Arcane Lyon. Are you interested in Deathloop at all?
Oh, hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, because Dishonored 2 is what I think is one of the most underappreciated games of this generation.
I would say ever.
Ever? Whoa, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would say ever, man. That shit's so good. No one talks about it.
Dishonored 2 is just... And I part of me understands why, because I feel like the PS4 version I don't know about the Xbox version personally because I didn't check out that version, but there's something weird. Like, I don't know if it's like an input latency or it's just like something about it didn't feel quite right to me on console, which I played it anyway on console, but on PC is where I like really grew to think it's just an absolutely incredible game. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Arcane. I guess what's funny, I say I'm a huge fan of Arcane, but I didn't really play Prey. So I need to play. I guess I'm just a Dishonored fan. And it's the same studio that did Dishonored 2, because that's the other team is the one that did Prey, the one that's in Texas.
Yes.
I believe. So
yep.
Yeah, what's interesting about this game is that from the trailer, it looks like a spiritual successor in a way to Dishonored, because it had the same like blinking ability. So I'm really excited about this. They can take as long as they need to make it right, but I do find it really unfortunate that they did do the exclusivity deal with PlayStation, but I also understand it just because it's weird, because the people that play their games love them. Like, there's a huge, following behind Dishonored. There's a huge following behind Prey. But it's my understanding that these games just really don't sell very well. The immersive sim genre. So you have to imagine that they're thinking, we're already risking it with a new IP, and it's in a genre that isn't particularly a high seller. If we sign this deal with Sony, then it's not, that may cover a huge part of their costs. So I understand why they made the deal. It sucks for the people on Xbox to not be able to play it. But to me, it sounds like this is a time deal.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be.
It's absolutely timed. What we saw was that, like, PlayStation was just, I'm pretty sure you just said this, like, PlayStation was just outbidding Xbox everywhere.
Right.
And so I think, it's just a time thing for maybe a year or so. I was actually reading, because I wasn't even sure, if I'm totally truthful with you, if this was a stealth, like, you could play stealthy. I do know they have, you can't do no-kill runs in this game. Like,
really?
Yeah. So that's one thing. There's not a pacifist playthrough, which I found a little disappointing. I get maybe why they're cutting it, because you're trying to clearly, with, as you mentioned, like the inspirations they're taking from their own Dishonored games. Like, Dishonored's amazing, but it never really sold that crazy well outside of probably the first entry when you look at it. And like the lacking of a morality meter or the, how like the chaos meter in the Dishonored games. This game obviously doesn't have that. They took that out of Dishonored in Death of the Outsider, which is a really good game. And I think it was kind of a smart choice. I love the choice and consequence that's in Dishonored, but sometimes you'll get like not a great ending because of some incidental death across the fucking map in the level you're on. And like, that sucks. And that happened to me in Dishonored 2. And it was kind of like, what? Why? Like, I didn't kill anyone. But turns out it was accidentally happening through like people I knocked out that like, oops, I hit the mic, but they'd like fall somewhere and die or whatever. And it was happening while I was completely away. In this interview I'm reading, it says you can really go crazy, loud, silent, explore as much as you want, or be as fast as you want, but without missing any content. So there's something that furthers the Dishonored paradigm to an extent in the terms of gameplay. It's supposed to be a gigantic party, if not for one person who is the ultimate party crasher for eternity, named Colt. It's a strange place in this world. It's a place where there was an army base at some point where some strange experiments have happened. There is something special on this island, but the people who are now living there, the people who are of the H.A.M program, have invested in the island in order to be the party that never ends. And so you can choose which district you want to go to and what you want to do there. You can do some assassinations, or you can just go and explore the district where there are no targets. So there's there's a number of things you can do. So it's a little bit like a Dishonored game, but where you would make your schedule for the day in a way like a Persona game, where you would organize your day and say, okay, today I want to do this and then that and then this. But the structure is closer to Dishonored, with a bit more choice and agency about how you go about things. Isn't that a fucking weird comparison? This is coming from the guy directing the game, right? Dishonored and Persona. Tustin, have we found the best game of all time?
Maybe. I mean, it's just honestly like I'm just so excited thinking about Dishonored, like thinking just about a new game from this studio. Dishonored 2, like honestly, maybe the best level design. Like it may be the best. I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough to say that confidently, but like thinking about the is it called the Clockwork Mansion?
Yeah.
That level is insane. So thinking about their to bring this into what you're saying, like thinking about their like super creative level design and tying that into the framework of the game itself is just really exciting. I'm not sure I really understand what they're even saying based on what you just read, but I'm excited for it.
Maybe this next statement will help round out what he's saying. There's also that clock counting down to midnight, and each objective you take on will reduce the time you have left for the remaining targets when you return to your hub. If you run down the clock before killing them all, you're back at the start of the loop, each time with newfound knowledge for levels, NPC routines, routes, and tactics. So there is a glimmer of DNA from the Prey Moon Crash expansion, not quite a roguelike like that game was, but designed to be mastered through repetition and experimentation. So what happens is you go out, let's say today I'm going out, I'm doing these 2 side missions in this hub, and I'm fucking killing this guy. That's my day. I'm going to try to get that done and then head back to the hub. Then you've got to, in say like 12 hours, kill 7 more targets. It's going to be interesting how they handle that without it being repetitive. Because like, let's say you're figuring things out meticulously, right? And like you get 5 and then it sends you all the way back to the beginning. And then you got to do them all over again. Like, is that deflating? Right. What do they do to make that exciting? It's a really novel concept. I don't know if you played Prey Moon Crash, but that's like one of the best DLC or expansions ever made. Like, it's so ridiculously good. But this is a very different game. I can see why it's taking them some time. I'm excited to play just as an Arcane fan. I still think they're like the best developer underneath Bethesda at this moment in time. Used to be BGS, but
damn,
here we are. All right. That was our last bit of news, Dustin. Now we're into the Patron questions where I'm sure things will get wild and stupid.
Let's go for it.
As my stomach grumbles, but I don't think the mic can pick that up. All right. Where is my Discord app on my phone? I don't have it up. What? Maddie is not prepared. Hold on one sec, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. All right. Let's get this started. What's today's date? 21st. All right. First question comes in from... Okay, the 15th was Saturday. All right, so we can start there. Carlton Dexter. Is there any point buying either console at launch with no big titles for Xbox Series X and currently only an expansion to the PS4 Spider-Man game for PS5? To me, it doesn't feel worth it buying a brand new console for several $100 to play the same games you could play on current consoles, but with a better set of graphics and higher frame rate. I have an Xbox One X with Game Pass and a mid-tier gaming computer, so for me, it would be more worth the while getting a PS4 for half the price of a new console.
I think we kind of touched on this earlier a little bit in that,
we did.
I mean, I don't know. This is so difficult because it's like, for me, when I'm buying a PS5, obviously the games that I'm going to play at launch are important, but it's like, I know that I'm going to have this and I'm going to play it for the next 5+ years. So I don't know. I guess there's the idea, like, do you trust Sony to follow up with good games, right? Or do you trust Microsoft to follow up with games that you want to play for the next 5 years? I mean, honestly, you probably shouldn't trust them because you never know what's going to happen throughout the course of a generation. But so I guess to me, like, no, buying a console at launch is probably not a wise thing to do. But again, what I'm going back to is that if it's something you want and you can afford it and you're going to enjoy what you know is available, then go for it. I don't know.
Yeah. I think you'd be in a better spot because having an Xbox and a PC, I feel kind of puts you in a position where you're dipping into the same pool. Because especially if you said you're a Game Pass owner, so you could get pretty much everything Game Pass offers already on PC. It would probably be more beneficial for you to own a PlayStation. I'm not saying get rid of your Xbox, but I think it would be worth at least keeping your eye on the PlayStation because there is a pool of exclusives over there that you currently can't access on either of your consoles. That's the only thing I would add on to that. Sorry, you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was just the PC thing. That's where I'm at with Series X. It's like I have a really nice PC that I built this year and put a lot of money into, and so no dig against the Series X. It's just like I don't. It would not be a good investment if I can play all those games on my PC. So with Game Pass, so. I'm not writing off the Series X forever, of course, but I will probably get one. I will probably inevitably buy one just because I can't resist hardware. I love buying hardware. Like it's so exciting. So I will probably get one. But yeah, you said the guy who wrote in the question said they already have a PC. So
mid-tier PC.
Yeah, then you're probably good on that front, in my opinion.
Tropical Ice Cow writes in, what do you think Avengers needs to do to become successful? I can see what they are trying to do with the game, but I think they are stuck between the comics and the movies and trying to ride the hype of the MCU. But wow, the beta has been boring. Yeah, man. The way I look at it is I think their best bet is to really just hit the pedal to the metal and get as many heroes out consistently as possible. Because at that point, I don't think people are going to care about their depth if they're just getting new toys to play with. I think the issue is that they don't play different enough. Like they all have like one little thing that I feel separates them, but they don't feel like their entire entity with like a full kit. Like you look at what Spider-Man PS4 did with how the gadgets expanded and how all the moveset expanded and all the costumes expanded. I'm not saying you need that for literally every character in the game because I don't think that's realistic to expect, or else the game would still be in development for another like 10 years. But what I will say is I think they just need to just pour it on, man, just everything. There was a leak recently that had like She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, it had of course Spider-Man, it had who else was confirmed? There was Doctor Strange. There was just like a whole bunch of them in there that are playable characters according to the files. So people are data mining that. And so I think they're just going to do that. Just pour it on with playable characters. Just keep up the support. Because I think of a game like Battlefront 2, which really hit its stride in support like way after launch. And for me, that was at a point where I said, I'm busy playing other games. I don't really care right now. I feel like that they come out the gate, failure or not, and they're just like, yep, let's just heroes, new maps, new missions. If it's going to be a loot game, like you got to expand on all fronts as consistently as possible. And if you got Marvel tied to your name, I mean, you got to act. You cannot be complacent.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even speak to this question. I finally did end up playing the beta, and I just, I found it so boring. Like I didn't even get to the point where you could like pick your own missions. Like I was doing the mission where you play as the girl that can like stretch her arms and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Ms. Marvel.
And I was like, is that Ms. Marvel? I don't think that is. Wait.
Let me double check.
I was gonna say Ms. Marvel is the one that flies around. I've seen all of the Phase 1 MCU movies, but other than that, I'm like a comic book idiot.
Kamala Khan is Ms. Marvel. You're thinking of Captain Marvel.
Okay. See, yeah, I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to these characters. But anyway,
names.
As far as playing the game, the gameplay, I can speak to that. That I was just like, there's got to be more. I think you're right, Maddie, about as far as like individualizing the characters and making them feel more distinct. But yeah, it was funny because I was playing the beta after we had that podcast where hearing you guys talk about it. Yeah. I was like, wow, they were right.
Good to hear. We didn't mislead you. Right?
I was I was with you.
If you came in and went, I actually like it.
I really wanted to give it a fair shake.
Oh, I was like, everyone wants to like that game, man.
I was like, all I'm doing is pressing square and the same enemies over and over, which I understand a lot of other games do that too. As far as repeated enemies, like Destiny is kind of the same shtick. But as I compared it to Destiny on the last show, it's like, it's okay to do the same thing over and over again if your core gameplay is super fun. And I was like, this core gameplay is just not doing it for me. So
yeah. Holzer's got two things right, and one's a comment towards you, Dustin. But right now, what we're going to do is question. With Xbox moving to service/Game Pass rather than straight up consoles, could you see a similar situation happening to what happened with streaming markets? As in where Xbox is essentially Netflix, and as time goes on, other companies/publishers will see this success and start pulling their games, similar to what Disney and NBC did to start their own service, thus starting a new service war. My immediate response is probably not, because you see the likes of Ubisoft trying to do it, and it's just like not, maybe it's profitable for them, but it's not simply as powerful and as popular and as hype as Game Pass. Like when you see a third-party game get thrown on a Game Pass, people are like, yes, let's go. Like this is awesome because it's more value to the consumer. And right now you just can't beat that. And I know there was a conversation about that with Netflix, but I feel like you got to look at each company individually and say, is their portfolio so fucking good that if they pulled everything from Game Pass and said, give me 15 more bucks a month, I would pay for that, right? Like if Bethesda did it, think of their portfolio, right? They're giving you all the Elder Scrolls games, all the Fallout games, Dishonored, Doom. Like, I just feel like even that, like that sounds like pretty good on paper, but when you add the money to it, I would rather just take less games and go to Game Pass because no one wants to pay those extra services. It benefits companies more to be a part of Game Pass, where it's not like they're just gifting these games, by the way, Holzer. They're getting paid, and I'm sure you know this, they're getting paid to have their games on this service. So with that in mind, I think these companies understand they gain more just from being a part of something really popular and successful rather than trying to do their own thing, because then you get Ubisoft Plus or Play or you Play, whatever the hell they call it. And before you respond, Dustin, I just want to tag in what Holzer had said. He said, oh my God, Dustin, you need to get a smoker. We have 2 now, and we make so many different and delicious meats.
I was just talking to my dad because they were here the other day, and I was like, yeah, I think it's go time for the smoker. It's one of those things though where it's like I just, since I mentioned earlier about buying the car, I'm like, I spent not like too much money, but since it was a big purchase in the down payment, I'm like, don't spend any money for like at least a little while. So
yeah.
Though I may not be able to resist the smoker of the delicious meats. So,
yeah,
sorry, I wasn't ignoring you when you were speaking. I wanted to bring up the question as well, just to make sure that So, yeah, everyone having their own service is really interesting, just because I am the type of consumer that the service makers hate, because I will join the service to play one brand new game and then quit. So like Fallen Order, when Jedi Fallen Order came out, I signed up for EA Access for $15 on PC and I played it. And then I promptly canceled it and I played that game for $15. So
smart use of your money.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's like, I have nothing against EA. I guess it's called EA Play now. I have no problem with EA Play, and I'm sure that many people subscribe and love it. I wouldn't utilize the service that would make it worth it for me to have it every month. So I barely even feel like Game Pass. I will sometimes cancel it and then just wait until there's something I want to use, just because there's so much. I was thinking this the other day. There's just so much content of all things. Like there's so many shows and movies and games, and that it's hard to, there's no point in being subscribed to all these different things when I'm not even taking advantage of the things that I do have. Right. So yeah, I'm curious what the end game is with all these companies having their own service. You can't imagine that they all succeed, especially the Ubisoft one. I always forget they even have their own service. So yeah, I honestly don't know.
Yeah, dude. Twyglad writes in, Have any games made you cry?
I'll be honest, Maddie, I'm not much of a crier when it comes to media. Like movies and TV shows and games, like I just don't cry really. Though I can think of one example. And that was at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh yeah.
And it was a cry of nostalgia from remembering being in second grade, getting Kingdom Hearts. I remember going to the mall and like I had most of the money and my grandma helped me pay for the rest, and how that game, like a lot of people were like can point to one game and it's like, this game changed my life. I feel like there's like a multitude of games that like cemented the type of games I love now, and Kingdom Hearts was one of them. And so when Kingdom Hearts 3, it was finally out after so many years from waiting. It was an emotional moment when that game started up, and it was the Utada Hikaru song at the beginning, and I was like, wow, this is just, it feels unreal that it was even happening. And so that made me shed a tear. So I guess when I cry, it's not necessarily because of the things happening in the game. It's like the weight on my own life and the impact of it. So Maddie, what about you? I'm curious.
Yeah, I've definitely over the years I've loosened up more, I think, because I like want to cry, just I feel like I used to be very uptight about it, and like movies always managed to like cut through where I'd get choked up. My brain would always be like, no dude, like you can't. I had a similar thing with Kingdom Hearts 3. Was when I finished it, I was like happy crying. I was like, oh my god, like it actually is over, like it actually, I played the game. Trying to think what else. There was one moment in Ghost of Tsushima that made me tear up, because that game had some pretty well written quests. So that was a shocker. That one actually got me.
I was actually playing that today, and there was a very emotional moment at the end of Act 2.
Yeah, dude. At the end of Act 2 was another tearjerker. I was like,
yeah.
Fuck.
So
it's a really good part, yeah. So yeah, like for me, definitely, there's multiple instances that immediately come to mind. Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably like the most prominent in my head, though, because like there's most times I sit in like a stunned silence. Like Persona 5 Royal is like jaw slightly open, like holy fuck, what was that? Like that was just. Usually I'm rendered like emotionless because I was hit with so many at once. So I don't just default cry. I just go like, oh my god.
Right. Dude, okay, we got to keep talking about Kingdom Hearts here for a minute, because, dude, before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I played through every fucking game again.
Really?
Like,
oh my gosh.
I went through, and there were some of them that I hadn't even played, like the 3DS one. I had played but never finished. So I was like fucking ready. It was go time. And here's the thing, Kingdom Hearts, say what you will, it's ridiculous. It's like one of the stupidest games ever, but that doesn't stop me from loving it. And I will fully admit that I am blinded by my own nostalgia of this game, and I don't care. Like when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, it's one of the few, I went to the midnight release at my GameStop because I needed to play it as soon as possible. And it was like this weird moment. I was like at the cash register, and it was like way more emotional and like crazy in my mind than anything of this matter ever should be. I was like, it's actually happening. I'm actually buying Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm 25 years old. Like it's just thinking back of like thinking of my second grade self, if I could tell him, be like, oh yeah, one day you'll be married, you'll be in your own house, and you'll be 25 and you'll be buying Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Right? It's kind of wild where you were then and now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I will take any opportunity to talk about Kingdom Hearts. Just remember that in the future.
Okay. Go
for
this
game.
I
of this show.
Like Kingdom Hearts. Like I go back and forth on Kingdom Hearts 3. I think it's a good game, but I think it was like a disappointing one. So like,
oh dude, I'm in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so happy it exists. I'm so happy I got to play it. It it lived up to my expectations by existing in a way, but I'm not going to say it's like awesome.
Yeah, definitely not. Especially for me, it was more so cemented after Final Fantasy VII Remake. When I saw how they treated that game and then how they, like, which long anticipated, feels like forever in development, and then you look at what happened in Kingdom Hearts 3, I was like, they fucking shafted that game so hard. Like, they just said, fuck this, we're done with it, we're getting it out, and we're putting 7 Remake on the main development board.
Right. Dude, I can't believe, too, the way they handled the marketing for Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, it got to a point, when I was at E3, and I think there was a trailer at the Sony press conference that year. That was the last Sony press conference. And I think they had a trailer. Anyway, I remember thinking, this is the last time I'm going to watch any trailers for this game. And somehow, when I played it, I knew every single world that was in that game. And it was kind of disappointing. I was like, man, it would have been so exciting to not know a world before you play the game.
Because they like sold that game a shit ton. It sold really well, but yeah, I agree entirely. There was no surprise on like what worlds you were going to.
Dude, they put out a trailer that's literally the end of the game. I'm trying to remember what the name of the trailer was called. It's 3. Do you remember that? Like,
yeah, that was like there were a lot of articles going around.
Kingdom Hearts 3 final battle trailer. Like, why?
So stupid. Yeah.
What's funny is when I saw the name of that trailer and I was like, no fucking way would I ever watch that. And then after I beat the game, I watched that trailer and I was like, wow, the ending of this game would have been so much less impactful if I would have watched that. And that's the thing, is they do that with, like, I think it's either a Japanese thing or a Square Enix thing to just blow their load on these trailers so there's nothing to surprise you when the game comes out.
Everything about the game.
I hate that, dude. But
they did a better job with 7 Remake. I feel like I didn't know a lot about that going in.
True.
Typhus76 writes in, I recently visited my local game store and saw that FIFA 21 had a regular and a few special edition games. Very normal, but I saw the special editions were available 3 days earlier than the regular editions. How do you feel about special editions being released earlier than the regular edition of a game? What video was it? I brought this up sometime this year. What was I talking about? I don't know. It completely escapes me because I make like a video every day, but I literally talked about something like this. It was definitely FIFA, and I showed it for something, but I think it's stupid.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's so weird to stagger your releases.
I think they did they do it with Forza Horizon?
Maybe. Why did I talk about it? I'm going to go through my library of videos here. What the hell did I bring it up for? I wonder. I have no clue, but I guess that's not the point of the question at all. I think it's just like the game is ready either way, so it's kind of like a false marketing in a way to make you feel like you're getting in early access because you paid a little bit more than just being patient. It's kind of taking advantage of your desire of the game, which I'll never be a fan of. I think it's really stupid. I know some will treat it as like consumer options. I'm like, no, stop.
Right.
Like there's consumer options and there's like, hey, it's ready, so we're going to stagnate this launch throughout multiple versions so that if you pay a lot of money, you'll get it a week early. Little bitch. It's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like same thing. I've made comments like this before, but it's like they do this because it works. So if you don't, I agree. I think it sucks. Like I think you coined it perfectly by saying it takes advantage of your desire to play the game. But if you don't like it, then you should not pay for it and try to say, hey, this isn't something that's acceptable, and tell them about it. Tweet about it. It's got to be both though. You can't just tweet at them and say that it sucks and then buy it anyway, because they'll
just look at the money.
Right. There's only certain things that eventually it has to create a certain level of public distaste for them to actually do anything.
Yeah.
So in this situation, I think the thing that's going to speak the most is if they see the money not pan out. But yeah, they do it because it works. So it's unfortunate reality.
Indeed. Yellow Snowman 869. Hey guys.
Ugh.
Yeah, right.
That's quite a name.
That. Yeah, he pees in the snow for some reason. I think his profile picture, if I can see this properly.
Everyone's done it. I mean, everyone's peed in the snow. Yeah. Have you not peed in the snow?
I thought he was wearing a snowman mask in his profile picture, but I don't think he is. He's wearing a mask. Good for you. But I don't know what kind of mask. I don't remember if I've ever peed in the snow, though. I've ate a ton of snow as a kid growing up.
Oh, of course.
And anytime I was thirsty, handful of that.
You're good to go.
Dissolve. I'm hydrated. Let's go do it. Anyway, Yellow Snowman grotesquely writes in, hey guys, it's been a good while since I've been active in the Discord, but I'm just catching up on podcasts and I'm back. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. I just want to say how fucking excited I am to hear some confirmation on this Mass Effect remake or remaster or whatever it is. Still crazy it is that we still don't have any specifics on the price of these consoles. I love all the content from all of you guys, and I'm glad I've been able to be a part of this community. Stay safe and keep up the good work. Thank you so much for your little letter here. On top of that, just to keep it topical with Mass Effect, Typhus wrote in a second time saying, with Mass Effect Remaster rumored to release this year, what do you think the shortest marketing time frame for a game could be, i.e. the shortest timeline between announcement and release? A lot of Mass Effect hype for good reason. People want that trilogy in their hands as soon as possible.
Dude, I want that bad. Like,
I want it too, man.
I've kind of wanted to go back and play them the past few years, and then like now that there's these rumors, I think I did try to go back to play Mass Effect 1, and it needs updated. There's some quality of life things that they need to do. Anyway, back to the question, what's the shortest time frame? I mean, this is something that Colin has said, so I don't want to take credit for it, but you got to wonder if certain games they could just release with no marketing. If Valve was like, hey, Half-Life 3 is out right now. How many people would just buy it based on the explosion that, Twitter and different online, message boards or whatever would be? That people would just be like going nuts because this game finally came out. I think it could be done. I don't know if anyone's
a very particular game, I feel.
Yeah. So I think it's possible that you could have literally no marketing behind a huge game and it be successful. I don't know if anyone's ballsy enough to do it. But
yeah.
Coming back to Mass Effect, I feel like that game is such in the public conscious of gamers that it doesn't need to be long. Like they could probably do it in 3 months or less. I don't know if it's even necessary to do much beyond that. People know what they're getting into. So
I think it's going to be way shorter than that because it's definitely coming out this year. Like that's kind of been the notion I've seen online. I've been covering this game since like fucking February. So like what I've heard and what I've seen, this game is happening this year. And like when it's announced, it is going to be a short time frame. Like at this rate, it's going to be a really short time frame. I don't know when they're going to reveal it, but month, 2 months tops. Like it's going to be pretty tiny window.
And the rumors around that are that they're doing some pretty significant work on those games. It's not just an up-res.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I don't know if I buy into that, especially because I feel like that's where you need to market, right? Like let's say they changed the ending to 3 or they reworked 1.
That'd be crazy.
I feel like that's something you have to be like, this is a part of, like, people need to know this. They can't just figure it out. Like they need to know it. I feel like that would make it where they'd announce it by now. I don't know if we'll see it at like Gamescom or something like that. I doubt it, but I personally feel like it's going to be just like the same games touched up, 60 FPS. And sometimes that's enough. Like I feel like Borderlands Game of the Year edition is a perfect example of when you give a game some type of like modern bells and whistles, it plays so fucking good. Like I love how when I play Lilith in Game of the Year edition on PC, there's just something about it. It just feels so friggin' good. It's got this like flow to it. They changed something on the inside to make that game play better. And so like if they did something like that with Mass Effect 1, because that's very janky. Like you round out some of the animations, give the guns a little more punch, just things like that. I think that could go a long way. Because they're not gonna. If you remake the first Mass Effect game, that's pretty much what, like, in a sense, Andromeda was like a spiritual successor to the first Mass Effect. So I feel like them remaking that game or changing anything substantial with it's not going to happen, because Andromeda, like, both games have like planets that you drop on, you explore them, you find quests, you fight enemies, you have those vehicles that you can drive around. Like, they both kind of have that already. So I feel like EA and BioWare are probably like, no, we're not gonna do that. I don't know what they're going to do now, though. Like, once that trilogy's out, like, what they're going to do with Mass Effect, if they're just going to leave the Andromeda Galaxy and then just go back to the Milky Way, essentially. That'll be really interesting to see.
I'm excited because when it comes out, I'm going to play through the games as female Shepard, which is supposed to be a fantastic experience. A lot of people think that the female voice actress is way better than the male voice. He's very like he's kind of stiff, if I'm being honest, and also very Canadian. So
that's the only voice I think of when I think of the game, though. But like I said, I've never played Fem Shep, so like that's definitely why. But I always think of like the like, I'm Commander Shepard and Star in the Citadel. Like, I just think of that voice, and it's just hard to separate that.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into that game series. That'll be a really good time. And if they bring back the multiplayer, oh my God. I don't know if I'll even play the stories.
Dang.
I fucking love that multiplayer. All right. Grimblade writes in case it isn't already a show topic, which it wasn't, what are your thoughts on Black Myth Wukong? The game looks insanely polished for a relatively unknown Chinese indie studio. They cited God of War and Sekiro as direct influences, and I would say it definitely shows. So yes, I found the response. I don't want to sound like a piece of shit, but like I found response to this game, right? I found the response to the game very fascinating because like so many people who like live and die on the wait for the full product, wait to see more, and then we see this like 15-minute vertical slice, which does look really good, and people are like, "Oh my God, what?" Like I don't know. I couldn't get excited because I'm like, we don't know when it's coming out. It is an indie studio. And like it's just like it's such a tiny slice of what the whole game can be. If there was more of like a release window or date in sight, I'd be like, all right, I get this. Like this I'm about. Unless I miss something, because then hype train's full steam ahead. But that's where I sit on the game currently.
Yeah, I actually just watched this morning, and yeah, I mean it looks cool. I'm kind of with you though that just like. There's still so little that we don't know, like as far as a window. I feel like there was another one of these, like the market is really interesting because we are starting to see more and more Chinese developers pop up, which is cool. I mean, I'm excited to see what that kind of worldview brings into game development, just because China is so different than living in a lot of other countries that currently develop games. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I feel like some of the I'm trying to think, there was like a Chinese developed game coming for PS4 that kind of ended up being vaporware, or that just like kind of disappeared. Not Genshin Impact, but a different one. But anyway, so yeah, it's one of those things where it looks cool, but have to know more for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. All right. Let's go ahead and move on down to Natural Calamity. Before anything, I want to welcome Dustin to our dysfunctional little rabble of nerds and the like. You rock, man. I love hearing your take on things, and your fun demeanor makes it all the better. Now, to the questions. That's what he wrote, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was not rushing away your thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, he wrote 5 long questions. All right.
5 long questions. Wow.
We're going to rapid fire Natural Calamity because we still have a ton of questions after this to go through.
Cool.
So sorry, Natural Calamity.
Rapid fire. Here we go.
This is what happens. I've specifically said to people, take some, put them in the Extra Slice podcast, just compartmentalize your questions. But you're going to get the rapid fire treatment. Question 1, with the release of the Xbox One, Microsoft unveiled the Kinect and made many that turned off consumers. And when seeing the delay of Halo, I can't help but think this is the start of the downfall for the Series X. Do you think this generation will be as bad as the reveal of the One? Why or why not? I think not. I
don't think so either. I would hope that they know very well what went wrong with the Xbox One in the launch. Yeah. So a delayed game is nowhere near the insanity of the launch and the reveal of Xbox One.
Yeah, it's not. Let's not go that far. Question 2, with the Switch now looking like it is the most profitable hardware system to date, do you think Nintendo will take a chance and make a Switch Pro? And if so, what improvements do you think it will make from the regular Switch? And how do you think it will look like? How do you think Nintendo would implement it and its games? We talked about this, didn't we, last week?
Yeah, which I think, to quickly summarize what we said, is that maybe they would do a Switch Pro, but they don't really need to because they're making so much money and they can barely stock Switches as it is. So why would they screw up a good thing? I think they'll wait at least a year or two into next gen to see how ports are doing. Which I don't know. I don't know anyone who buys a Switch to play the ports. The ports are like a bonus. Like, yes. Anyone who's playing Doom on a Switch has already played it on a PS4, an Xbox, or a PC. I'm guessing. I'm guessing like 95% of people.
Yeah. Question 3. What lengths do you think Microsoft will go to see that xCloud gets on Apple devices? Do you see forces colliding to take down this corporate giant, or do you see Apple weathering the storm? Yeah, they've really come under attack from all angles between Microsoft and Epic. Two giants just trying to get their game on their platform. The Epic thing on its own is really interesting to watch unfold. I'll be curious to see where the cards fall on that. As for Microsoft, I feel like a lot of it may depend on how this whole Epic thing turns out, right? Because if somehow Epic found a way to win this, then I'm sure Microsoft could step in with that advantage. I don't know, man. I see them pressing hard because xCloud is like a big part. Like, you have Game Pass, which connects Game Pass Ultimate, which connects to xCloud. Game Pass is your number one moneymaker. You need that on Apple devices. At least that's so I think they're going to push pretty hard.
Yeah. So it's my understanding that the reason that Apple is not wanting to allow xCloud is because of they have their own rating system within the App Store. And so this kind of bypasses that by having access to all of these games through xCloud, which what doesn't really make sense to me is that Steam Link is on iPhone also, which I would assume that is the exact same situation. So
shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I honestly don't know much more than that to really speak on it, but I'm assuming that they will eventually work something out, but who knows?
Yeah. Question 4. With the delay of Halo, do you see Microsoft forcing some other developers to crunch just to take the pressure off of Halo developers, plus to get a game out for launch? Also, if Halo doesn't do what it is trying to and fails, what do you think that would do to the future of the Series X and 10 years of content promised? I think they're absolutely going to try to weather any storm that comes their way with Halo, because this game, they're going to just like force succeed it, is what I would like to call it. They will continue to add content to it no matter what. They will develop a player base for it, because there are people who do just like Halo and enjoy what Halo is. I do think for the future of the series, they may look into a new developer for the next entry and might cut the 10-year plan short. I will say that. If Infinite comes out and it's another like, fuck, this sucks, I think it's already kind of clear that 343 isn't really cut out for the job. But now, after this, if this isn't good, which it may be on track to not be very good in some ways, red alert if I'm Microsoft and get them off that series as soon as possible. Because the damage has already been done, but now like you got to start a redemption arc at that point.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about this, and you got to...
Oh. Dustin dropped out. He completely dropped out, ladies and gentlemen. This has not happened in a while. Dustin just mid-sentence, he's just staring at the floor thinking about things. What things? I'm unsure of. But we're gonna see if we can get him back. I don't know. Like, part of me wants to leave this in. This might be really entertaining for you guys to listen to. You couldn't have seen this coming. I'm gonna write down a little timestamp. But yeah, it looks like his internet might have died. Let's go ahead and check Twitter here. Let's see what he wrote. Nothing at all. Oh, and there you go. Oh, hold on.
Hey,
hello.
I left and rejoined, but you were frozen for me. Was I frozen for you?
You were. I was commenting during the whole thing. I'm going to leave that in then. All
right.
Oh,
dang. I was commenting. I was like, Maddie's frozen. I don't know what's going on. So
nah, that was a Discord thing then.
Damn it.
You left and rejoined then.
So I don't know when I got cut off, but basically
you were starting your sentence.
Well, okay. So we were talking about Halo Infinite. Oh, yeah. You got to wonder if they should maybe drop the Xbox One version of this game at this point. I think that would be a hard thing for them to do since they've really emphasized that it's already coming to Xbox One, but it might be the right thing to do. Because think about the fact that if they release this on Xbox One, are they going to support this game on Xbox One for 10 years? Is that what they said? 10 years? Yeah. You're going to support this old... I mean, as far as hardware goes, it's old. PS4, Xbox One, they're both old as far as technology goes. They're going to support that for 10 years?
Can even handle that support that's being added.
Right. I mean, I feel like it might be better to rip the Band-Aid off early and
I agree.
And just drop
that's
it.
But good suggestion.
I'm trying to remember what else was at the core of the question, but
that was really it. Like, if Halo doesn't do what it's trying to do and fails, what do you think the future of the Series X in 10 years content?
Oh, and they had mentioned about should they make another developer crunch
I don't
to have
think
a game.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that. I mean, like I said, you can say that we're being pessimistic, but they don't have a first-party game that we know of ready for launch. That does not spell like a recipe for success.
I don't think based on anyone nearby that they could even crunch.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of possibilities. Like, maybe they could try to buy an exclusive in time, but even that,
do it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
I get that PlayStation does it, but when Microsoft does it, like, think of Tomb Raider, all hell breaks loose. And
right.
It tanks the game. I don't know. I just, it wouldn't work out for them. I would like to see them try that, but I don't think it would work out.
Right.
Question 5. What movie do you want to see be turned into a game? My choice would be Cabin in the Woods. The rotating monsters, the possibilities to play in different countries where teens are placed against different monsters chosen by the players themselves. The addition of the scientist possibly being a playable character on the side of the monster. Why the hell hasn't this been made? Dead by Daylight, but better with a story reasoning to the whole thing going on. What is your choice for a movie to be made into a game? And if you've seen, thoughts? TMNT 2003.
Oh.
In an open world setting.
Okay.
It's not a movie, but it's my show game.
Interesting.
That would be my choice. Because they have 03 TMNT games, but they don't have an open world one. That'd be
right.
Sick.
All the movies that come to mind to me already have games. Like, initially I was like, man, do a Scott Pilgrim game. I'm like, oh yeah, there was a game for that hopefully is coming back.
Yeah, apparently it is.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We might have to come back to this. A lot of the movies I'm thinking of, I'm like, would that be a good game? Just, yeah.
Two totally separate things nowadays. Like, it's got to be like someone with a skill set, right? Like a hero.
Right.
That's why like people call them superhero games, because like that's transferable.
I could see something interesting, like if they did Spaceballs, the Telltale adventure, and Telltale series, something really weird, obscure, or like I don't know, Wayne's World, some like weird 80s movie, but doing it because they did that with Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go with Spaceballs Telltale series.
All right. Tropical Ice Cow writes in, when do you expect dates and prices for the new consoles? And given how good Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2 played, do you think we didn't get enough out of the current consoles? Yeah, you could make an argument you could definitely make an argument that those two kind of squeezed them dry and show that there was definitely some fidelity left on the table by some of the other games out there. But then again, you could have said, like, why are we moving on from the PS3 when you saw The Last of Us 1 and how amazing that looked? Like, it still looks amazing to this day. So personally, I think, like, if they're showing, like, this is all we can squeeze out of it, then it is time to move on. Because, like, say one day we get the graphics of The Last of Us Part 2 with the frame rate, like, that we want to play on, that would be great. I would love that. As for the expected dates and prices of new consoles, we've kind of talked that to death at this point in time, so we'll just focus on that aspect. Do you think we got enough out of these consoles?
Oh, yeah. I feel like we definitely did. I mean, think about how many exclusives are not. Just like, I feel like I've played so many games and on these consoles, and it's one of those things where I'm not necessarily feeling like they are super outdated. Like when we got to the end of the 360, we were playing games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and BioShock Infinite. I was feeling like, yeah, especially because that's when I was really starting to get serious about PC gaming. I was like, these consoles feel old. And that was also a particularly long generation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm with you that I would love to see some of the high fidelity PS4 games we have, games like that running at high frame rate. I don't know if that's likely because I feel like they're still going to try to just do the ultimate fidelity that they can do at 30 FPS. But I don't know. I'm surprised when they said that they're doing a 4K 60 mode for Spider-Man. So
yeah, right.
Maybe there is an initiative to at least give an option between a 4K 60 mode and a fidelity 30, which we've already started to kind of see with PS4 Pro. But I'd love to see that across the board even more. So
yeah. Benjam writes in, what is a hobby you find interesting and want to get into but know literally nothing about it?
I have one, but I feel like I've been going first. You go ahead with this one, Matty.
I guess music. I don't know if I'm like really into it. I feel like most things I'm curious about, I am like pretty good at pursuing. Martial arts, language learning, writing. I would say music because, like, I guess it always ties back to games. Like, if I were to ever make my own game, you know, conducting your own music and stuff, composing rather, sorry, your own music, like that type of stuff would be really cool. And I always get told I have like a musician's hand, like my fingers are really long. Like that's what I'm told all the time. My dad was a really popular drummer for a while, and like he still plays locally and stuff. So I have that in my DNA. But these are gamer hands, baby. So
that's right.
That's where I am with that.
That's funny. I used to be all about music. Like I played in a bunch of bands in high school and stuff, and then I kind of just fell out of it. So for me though, this is something I've recently thought about. There's two things that I'd love to get into. One of them is doing ceramics, like doing pottery and stuff, because I did a class in high school and I really like doing it on the wheel and like doing the painting and firing in the kiln. I thought it was awesome. The other one that I want to do that I feel like would be so cool is making stained glass. Oh, yeah. Like, and I think it's out of my motivation. I feel like it'd be so cool to do video game themed stained glass, like being able to make one of the stained glass pictures from Kingdom Hearts in real life. Yeah. That'd be so cool. So my problem is that I get into a million different things, but I never get great at any of them. Like in the past year, I started to get into Gundam building, like Gunpla. And then I went so hard on it that I got sick of it. And now I have like a few different models that I haven't even built yet. So
I gotcha. Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I'm very particular. So like when I got into the DBS card game, like I'm still collecting and playing.
right
2.5 years later, because
right.
I make fun of my friends Vinny and Tyler. Like I call it the all-in mentality. And if you're an all-in mentality, let us know on the Discord on Patreon, or Patreon Discord, sorry, because they always go all in 120% first month, let's say, and then dead after that.
Yeah.
Dropped.
I'm definitely more along those lines, though there are things that I've stuck to. But I think it's hard too for me, because a lot of the things that I get interested in and want to do, my friends don't care about. Like right now with skateboarding, I started skateboarding again this summer, and it's cool because my wife and I are doing it together. Like she has a longboard and I have like a cruiser board and a normal skateboard. So we've been having a lot of fun together doing that, but none of my friends have any interest in doing that. So it's difficult because it's like I want to learn and get better at skateboarding, but I don't have anyone to show me or guide me. And that's the same with building Gundams, is that the only guide I had was watching YouTube videos. I have no one to show me. So, and that seems to be the case with a lot of the things that I get into. So I would take a friend that would give me a month and get burnt out than not having anybody. But
makes sense.
Both of them are not ideal.
Paco Luigi writes saying, Caballeros, if you had to write an origin story for your life, what would it look like? P.S. What other food wars are you passionate about? Looking at you, Dustin. Concarino Paco.
Food wars that I'm passionate about. That's a hard thing to ask me, because I'm definitely a picky eater. Like I've learned to adapt, because it's hard. When you're a picky eater at 26, people just hate you basically for it.
Understandable.
So I've learned to hide it, and I'm, like I said last week, I'm very polite. I ate the meatloaf that was served to me for a dinner party. As far as food that I really passionately hate, I hate ketchup. But we've brought that up. Like ketchup, something that I just like.
Let's see here. Like, how about okay, food war topic. I'm trying not to do the typical like, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Right.
When you let's say you're making a PB&J. Do you like PB&J?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Let's say you're making a PB&J. You're at the table. You're slathering it up. Do you put your peanut butter on the top or the bottom? And
I've never thought about it.
Oh, you never think about it. So you just go either way every time. That's psychotic.
For me, it's like only grape jelly for me personally. And also not a fan of chunky peanut butter. Like peanut butter to me is smooth. I want a smooth experience. I'm sure chunky has its place in certain recipes, but in a PB&J, I want smooth.
It's gotta be smooth. Yeah, it's gotta be smooth.
Maddie, I thought of the ultimate food war topic.
All right, let's hear it.
I hate fish, and I don't understand.
All seafood?
Pretty much all. Okay, I will eat some sushi, which is ironic because it's like the most fishy of fish eating.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I don't know. My family never, like both of my parents don't like fish or seafood. And
it's a genetic issue, I see.
Particularly, I want to say we need to stop eating squids and octopus. Stop it. These creatures, they're smart, and they're gonna rise up one day and take us out. You've seen these fuckers, like it's funny because I've thought this for a while. And Colin was mentioning a video of an octopus like walking on the beach. These fuckers are smart. They will escape out of things. Like they've got beaks on the inside. We got to stop eating them. Period.
Yeah, I'm about that. I can get behind that. But you're not gonna you come over to my house, Dustin, here's some salmon on a plate. Are you displeased?
I'm displeased, but I'd eat it. I've eaten salmon before. That's the thing about fish. It's not like, for the most part, like horribly offensive to my taste. But I just don't understand the people that are like, man, I love seafood. Also, oh, dude, this does disgust me. Is that I was in Annapolis, Maryland, on a trip, and the people that were there took us to a crab restaurant where they they put the paper out on the table, and they give you a little hammer, and they put a whole crab in front of you, eyeballs and all, looking at you, and I'm like, there is no fucking way that I'm gonna smack this thing like I'm a barbarian, smacking this thing and then eating it. I'm just not gonna do that.
Yeah, there are some restaurants that expect you off the bat to be a primal savage with your food. Like they think you like when your food's moving. That's the one thing I don't like, and you do sometimes see that in like seafood, like your food's like wiggling a little bit. You're like, that's fucking gross. Like,
right.
I don't need to know the dying process is ongoing as you enter my intestines.
Right.
That's unsettling.
I have no problem with food for the most part that looks like chicken wings. That's like literally, it looks like the wing of the chicken. That doesn't bother me. But the crab that they put in front of me still had its eyeballs attached and was looking at me. And I was like, I just can't do this. And also, by the way, eating crabs is just a delivery system for eating butter. I'm convinced.
Yeah, because crab doesn't really taste like anything. I've ate crab. It doesn't really taste like anything until you put it in the butter.
I've really just dug my heels into being the heel on food on this podcast.
I guess so, yeah. But I at least this time I'm kind of on your side. I love fish. I love sushi, like shrimp and all that stuff. Like I probably like seafood a lot more than you, but I am in agreement so far in what you've said. I can't rebel against. I'd be a liar if I did that.
We got to talk positive though, real quick, Matty. Is that in the video I did the editing for you, the Smash video. Is you said that pizza is number one, and yes. I'm gonna have to go with you on that. Pizza is just like the 100%. Best.
100%.
I could eat pizza practically every day. I mean,
yeah.
I don't probably if someone put a gun to my head and forced me to eat pizza every day, I probably eventually would hate it. Honestly, I'd try it though. I mean, if I wasn't gonna become obese, then why not?
Yeah, it's funny, like pizza makes me very oily. Like when I was away on vacation, we had pizza pretty much every night. I didn't really put it together, but like we ordered pizza at a restaurant and then we brought some home, so I had some leftovers. So like I ended up having the leftovers, and I had pizza at like a restaurant the next day, and then we had leftovers from that, so I had it like Sunday. And so like I had pizza every day, and like I would just have this buildup of like oil on my nose, and I'm like, ugh, I'm fucking gross. Like,
yeah,
that's the only issue I have with pizza, is that and the after smell on my fingers. I don't know. I need to talk about this, but my God, I hate that, and I hate it so much. I found out how to get rid of it. Dustin, use dishwashing soap.
I was about to say that, dude.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do. Yeah. I have a thing about hot dog juice on my hands. Like if you're ever getting a raw hot dog out to get ready to grill, I can't stand the smell of hot dog juice on my hands.
I just think that it seeps into your fingers, and like it's just stuck. Like it doesn't go anywhere, man.
Now, Matty, to cap this off, the pizza talk, and we should probably move on. If you're ordering pizza, who you calling?
Who am I calling?
Who you calling to order pizza from?
A local place. What do you mean? I'm confused.
See, okay. I personally want to order, like when my wife and I go out, we always pretty much exclusively, if we're not getting something quick, we're going somewhere local for all food. Problem is, here in Western PA, local pizza options, not very good. So there's very few local pizzas there's one place that we go to, but the pizza we really like is like a Sicilian, like really thick, which you don't want to have.
Mood for that.
Right. So you're pretty much you are blessed with good local pizza.
Yes, but I know the pain of like having bad pizza around you, because whenever I travel, I will want pizza for some reason. And honestly, this past weekend where I went away, like that was a time where I was like, wow, there's actually like good food all over the place. I was still in New York, so I guess that helps, right? But I've had bad New York pizza. Yeah, like when I went to Boston one time, oh my God, it was PAX East 2014. I've never had a worse series of food in my life. Like we had Chinese food one night. I have pictures of it that I'm going to see if I can put in our Discord chat, but it was heinous what I consumed. It just absolutely fucking disgusting, like slobs of goo. Like I ordered what is it, like a patty where you get like that gravy on the patty? I forgot exactly what it's called. Let's see. Here it is. Okay, Dustin, are you prepared to see what I tried to eat? Oh my God.
I'm ready.
Fucking gross, dude. It's actually gross. Here, I'm going to put it in I'm just going to unsolicitedly drop this into our sexy chat section on our Discord and just see what the audience says.
All right. I'm ready. I'm watching.
Okay, it's in there.
I love that it's in the bathroom.
It's actually fucking gross, dude. It was so, yeah, like that's the thing. I can't wait for people to see that.
I zoomed in. Okay, so the one on the left, the General Tso's I'm assuming that's General Tso's.
Yeah.
It doesn't look great, but it's not awful. Whatever is going on with this one in the foreground here, yeah. What the fuck is that? That's just
that is what I ordered.
No,
that is what I ordered.
No. That's
it was terrible. It was terrible. I cannot wait to see what people say like when I open that chat up later. But dude, yeah, that was one of the worst meals I've ever had. And then I had pizza after, and like even like I ordered, it was so bad I ordered a second set of food, and even the pizza wasn't good. But you were like, thank God this isn't like that what I just threw away. My friend Connor, who he pridefully says, like he'll eat anything. You know, he's your guy, like he's your dumpster. Like give him your leftovers. If you're not liking your meal, he will take it over. He's that guy. And even he could not stomach whatever mess it was that I just dropped in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh man. See, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, you want to listen to the end. The Patron question section is far and beyond our best section of the show. Like if we weren't a predominantly gaming news show, like I would put this in the front, hands down, because it's so much better. But at the same time, it's a good way to round it out. So,
dude, and here's the thing: is that so that happened at PAX. You're already eating like shit at PAX, no matter what. Anytime, if you're in this biz or whatever, like, especially E3, because E3 is a week long. I just like you come home from E3 and you're like, my body on so many levels wants to die. Like there's so much garbage food. I was around 1 million people. I did not sleep. I had alcohol probably every night. And even if like, not that you're getting, well, I'm sure some people get wasted every night at E3, but even just like you're at parties, you have a couple drinks so you can talk and not be, feel weird or whatever. But man, yeah, dude. A lot of Pop-Tarts at PAX too for me. I'm a Pop-Tarts fiend at PAX because I don't eat them at home.
I'm a Doritos chips guy at PAX. That's where I do my most consuming. In the morning, I just grab like a bagel from Starbucks or something like that.
Right. Dude, the thing about PAX too is that there's never like, I'm always hungry at PAX because like you're so busy. You don't want to like, especially if you're doing like appointments and stuff, like it's like you're lucky if you can break away and get a pretzel or something that you spend like $8 on that just is absolutely terrible. But
dude. It's hard to believe that we were both at PAX and like didn't have masks and all that stuff with all those people.
You were at were you at the last few E3s?
I went to I pretty much was on an every other year schedule. I was gonna go this year because I went in 2016, 18, and I was gonna go this year.
Were you at the Bethesda land with the not the merry-go-round? They had a carrot. Yeah.
No, I didn't go to that. I had an inkling. Like I always go to E3 when I'm hyped, and like I had an inkling. I was like, Bethesda's show is definitely gonna suck, and I'm not really like feeling good about the rest of it. I'm glad I didn't go.
Dude, I will tell you though, that event was fucking awesome. I mean, it was a little weird. I always feel like there's a catch-22 because I'm like, they're definitely trying to butter up press at these events for sure. But it's also awesome. Like there was so much like good. There was so much food, so many cool drinks. They had a carousel. They had like enamel pins of all of their like different IPs at all the different stations. Like it was like a mini amusement park. It was really cool. But
yeah, they put together good events. The thing is that people always say, like, when you go to those events, you become inherently biased. I'm like, you can easily separate. I had a cool drink at a like event versus this game is good or bad. Like, I don't know how the two ever come together. I'm all about like, oh yeah, you've got maybe some inherent bias or unknown bias that just plays a factor and you can't really control it. But like with stuff like that, I've never understood, like, even like, I may sound like really ridiculous here, but like even like they paid for your flight, you must like this game more than you're saying. It's like, no offense, but like with those events, like it's kind of expected that they're gonna put you in a hotel and get you out there if they want you to play the game,
right?
It's their preview. I have 1% battery left. I'm gonna try to get through this last question here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, as you may or may not know, I read everything off my phone here because I can't get rid of Dustin's pretty little face, my pretty little face here on the show. Otherwise, you'd have nothing on your video feed for those watching on YouTube. Number one comes from Great Ape 51. This is our last question. With the next BioShock game likely taking place in a new environment, likely in space, which of the following structures would you choose? A, O'Neill cylinder, basically a giant metal cylinder for spin gravity, diameter of 5 miles and length of 32 miles. B, a ring world, like the one Larry Niven's book Ring World. Think a Halo ring, but stupidly larger, width of 1 million miles wide and 584.3 miles circumference / length around a star. Okay, we're pretty much Halo. C, a disc world, maybe more of bowl shape around the edges, like that in Terry Pratchett's series of novels of the same name, Discworld. I think this would be the most fantastical of the three options and could allow them to lean into having fun with the flat earthers meme subculture, have ships fall off the edge of the world or something like that. Paragraph break. I thought of Cloud Cities over Venus briefly, which might be possible someday, but dismissed it as it's too close to Columbia and Infinite. Now, he does have examples of what he's talking about here. And see, the thing is the new BioShock game is going to be a live service game. So I feel like you're just going to have a very big world that they need to add more to. So I'm going to go with option B, a ring world.
I'll go with C, the disc world. I feel like the ring world they might get accused of being too close to like Halo.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not convinced they're doing it in space. Personally, I feel like it's too obvious.
That's fair.
But who knows?
Plug my phone in the meantime.
You know, with it's one of those things where it is obvious, but maybe that's what makes sense. What's that? Occam's razor. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But yeah. Oh, okay. You can still hear me. Good. I was like, am I talking to myself? I'm just trying to fill so the audience doesn't have to, Maddie, one thing I appreciate about you is that we both, I think, are in gym shorts most days.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah. Well, the few times that I've seen you stand up, anytime we've been on a video call, you've been in gym shorts. And I was like, that's my guy.
Yeah, man. We still have no idea what Karak's wearing, though. That's the issue.
No idea, dude.
Right? Like
potentially nothing.
That's the thing. Karak literally could be bottom half nude for all we know. He wears a nice button up some days with a beanie. Like he's got this whole top half get up that I'm a big fan of, but no semblance of what's happening below the belly.
Has Karak ever been photographed without the beanie?
I don't think so either.
The beanie, that's what I was curious about. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever seen him without the beanie, which maybe that's just his brand, but I respect it.
He said, because I know he said he had, I don't want to speak for him, but like I think because he had cancer twice.
Oh.
I think he used to wear it, and then he just got used to wearing it and likes wearing it kind of now.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Whatever it was, yeah, it worked out. Yeah, but I feel like Karak's a jeans guy. Like I feel like he's always in jeans. I can't see him getting up and like he walks away and I see like an Adidas track pants logo or something like that. Like Karak absolutely grinds it out in jeans. 100%.
Yeah.
There was actually one photo he posted. It was like him and his friends, and I think they were all like with their airsoft guns. And I'm pretty sure Karak was in the back somewhere. And because of the way the photo was positioned, you still couldn't see his fucking legs. I was
maybe he doesn't even have legs. That's another layer that we haven't even considered.
The way he pops up from his chair and exits the screen though would suggest he is he has 2 legs.
Okay.
There's probably a
Fair
scientific
enough.
term that I was searching for there, but he's definitely legful.
It's funny because you've been on the show with Karak for a while now, and I feel like you and I almost know the same amount about him. He's a very mysterious figure.
He kind of is.
I like that about him, though.
Yeah.
What I respect about him the most is the fact that he drinks pop or soda, wherever part of the country you're from, directly from a 2-liter bottle. And that's a power move. That is fucking power move.
It really is, dude. I got used to that because what happens is he's always drinking like a Mountain Dew. So I'll see him pick it up, and when he does this, the bottle's not there. And I'm like, he's drinking Mountain Dew because he's got a green screen on. So he's always drinking out of nothing on my end. And so, yeah, he's always taking that 2-liter bottle to the face, and it's a champ for it. It's a champ for it.
Nothing but respect for that. Like I said, power move.
All right, Dustin. Looks like we're done for our weekend here. Now we ship this product out to our listeners, or by the time you're listening to this, it is shipped, and we hope you enjoyed said shipped product, episode 265 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. As always, we like to send out a little hashtag so you guys can let us know how deep into the show you got. In this case, the absolute end of the show. So we're gonna use hashtag. Could be another food related thing. People were very passionate about the food. I feel like we didn't have a strong food debate this time, right? Like we get greed a lot on fish. We could talk about Karak. And,
I was gonna say you could do hashtag power move for Karak's 2-liter.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to talk to him about that. Just be like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I had a 2-liter bottle right now and I was like, first of all, I mean, Karak seems like a nice, strong man. He's, he does like Taekwondo or whatever. He does martial arts. Mm-hmm. So he can pull off. If I had it with me in my little baby hands, I just don't know. It would be strange.
The way it's the width of his forearms that I really think plays into it most, because when he lifts it up, it's like the perfect size for his hand. Like, I think I look best holding this kind of bottle.
Right.
If you saw me with something like,
you look great with that bottle, Matty. Trust me.
Thank you. Like, if I'm holding both of these and drinking, it's a whole, it looks wrong.
Yeah.
It looks wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Karak's just got the right hand size, forearm size is a big factor here, where I think, you're on the money. He fits the 2-liter bottle best. It's the only way a man like him could drink it.
For sure. Yeah.
I'd love to see his diet. That's another thing I'm really curious about with Karak. We should just do hashtag Karak's Curiosities, because that's...
Oh, yeah.
Just digging into, because he's shared a little bit about his diet. Like
he said he drinks a lot of energy drinks.
Yes, I worry for him about that.
Yeah. I mean, so do I, but he said that because was that on the show? Was that before the show or during the show that he mentioned that he has energy drinks every day? I can't remember.
He's definitely said it to me before. Yeah, he has a wild amount of energy drinks in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
Between that soda. Yeah, he actually I remember he told me for Thanksgiving he had, and I'm not judging him, but I just thought it was a very Karak move over the years I've spoken to him. Him and his wife took mashed potatoes, threw them in a microwave, and they warmed up a dinner just for Thanksgiving. Not that everyone has to do this extravagant meal, but I just thought it was really interesting, a little peek into how he eats. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, we talk to Karak a lot, and I consider Karak a very good friend. He's helped me out a bunch of times, but I really don't know the nooks and crannies of what makes Karak the beast he is. I don't know what builds him as a man. I see what you guys see for the most part, and then we have our behind closed doors chatter about games, but when it comes to Karak, we're going to have to, next week, we might have to start off our intro not even talking about what we're playing, but what is Karak up to? And what does he do?
You could do a slice of ham episode the man, the myth, the legend of the person.
I was thinking actually you and I should just do one discussing food.
Oh. See, that's the thing, Matty, is that you opened up Extra Slice of Ham to me, yet you've not asked me to be on the show yet. And I'm starting to wondering if it's a personal thing. I'm just like, what's going on here? Did I say
Honestly,
something?
What happens is it'll be like the night before, right? It'll be like Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
You'll probably see, because I tag everyone in the Discord. I'm like, hey, put in your questions. And like by that point, I think to myself every time, it's too late to ask Dustin. Like I have a 12-hour window now where he may or may not be doing something. And if he isn't doing something, I feel wrong just being like, do you want to come do this show? Right now, like it's like podcasts are always a dedication, right? There's an effort that's put in, a time sink. Here we are closing in almost again on 3 hours.
Damn. We've done it again.
45 minutes. Yeah. We just can't fucking help ourselves. Imagine if Karak's here, right? Like this, it gets dangerous. We starve for this show.
That's right.
So I think a food discussion in this coming week's Extra Slice of Ham would just be fitting. I really think it would be.
I'm down for it.
All right, let's actually set that in motion then. We'll do that this coming week. We'll pick a free day, weekend maybe.
Sounds good.
And we'll do this. We'll get this done. The food wars will commence. But as always, Dustin, you're my second brain. So if I somehow don't reach out, you will not be bugging me if you follow up.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for episode 265 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. We hope you enjoyed every single second of it and absolutely adored it. You have no complaints whatsoever. And with that, let us know with Karak's curiosities in the comments if you got to the end. And now we leave you until next week's supplemental podcast as well as the H.A.M Radio Podcast. All right? Peace out.